So as soon as I approach that like thing, I don't feel comfortable. I feel really, I don't know, it's weird.
Man,
So I've like, I don't know. Like,
that's super interesting.
Seth is convinced I was just a binge drinker and I wasn't an actual alcoholic.
Yeah, we can talk about this,
we will,
obviously,
yeah.
but there's a difference between problem drinkers and alcoholics, and
Right.
a lot of people don't recognize that.
Right, I was a coping.
Yeah. I am 100% a real alcoholic. I know
Ooh, the
that.
bona fides.
I know that for a fact. I have done a lot of research,
Yeah.
and I'm here to tell you.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Um,
I just didn't want to be all up on your cords, bro.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, like, I meant, like, instead of pulling the mic towards you, just, like, kind of go forward.
How about we just move the whole table towards me?
Just everything.
We'll
It
just
doesn't have
make
to all
this-
be about you, Xander.
Yeah, so if you guys could just move everything to me, that'd be awesome.
No problem.
Turn all the cameras to me.
Should we just take this to your house?
Yeah, that'd be way better.
Oh, we have to get a photo. I need a new phone because my pictures are coming out like kind of foggy now. I've cracked. Like, if you take this case off, my phone is completely cracked
On the
the
back?
side. Yeah. I drop my phone all the time.
Yeah, me too. I'm so happy that I have this. The yeah, it's like the wallet case thing, but it's all leather, and it's even got like a rubbery.
But does
thing
that
to hold
protect
it.
your
Yeah, I
phone?
mean, like you drop this thing, it's like first off the leather takes the impact, and then the plastic that surrounds the thing.
Really?
So
I guess the leather.
I'm not
when
gonna
it's
test it,
soft-
but-
Yeah, I was gonna say. Are you sure? Do you like throw it against the wall
Oh,
in anger?
it's taken some
Because-
falls. I don't get that angry anymore.
None of this art is mine. Ernie laughs because I like have to like make that. I have to say that every time because I hate the art in here so much.
None of this represents me.
I don't know.
Yeah, so-
Vampiros in La Habana looks
So
cool.
people come in
That
here
looks
and they're
cool.
like, "Oh, this artwork's so cool." I'm like, "No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking not. It's so not."
I'm interested in it. I
Oh,
want to know
nice.
what it is. Yeah, those are mine. I'm gonna wear them for the whole interview if that's cool.
That would kind of be awesome. if you did, actually.
Just like let's do a second one where I'm just a character the whole time.
Yes.
I've
me too,
I've
but now
wanted
we
to do-
I don't know. I can't think of a good character name. I'm really bad. Like
I did it
like,
on one of my friend's podcasts once because he like, this is the other time I was sober and he had this like whiskey. It was like, what was it called? He was drinking it. I was just smelling it out of the sifter because I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna drink it. But he was like General HG something whiskey, and so I just became the
You
ghost
became
of
the
that
general.
At one point, I pretend I just became possessed by
That's
him.
awesome. You might want to close that.
Why?
I don't know.
Who
So
cares
people
about
don't
this?
get
This is
your
my
fucking
card numbers.
personal
It doesn't matter.
information.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Now you make me feel like I should hold my mug too.
1, 2, 3.
Well, your face is already there. You don't need to be. You're already you.
1, 2.
So Photoshop. Okay, can we do like a? I'm never.
I didn't feel
I make all those stupid ones and then I'm like, I'm not gonna use any of those. Or maybe I will.
Yeah, I took like
Sorry.
5 or 6 of them as you were doing it.
You know, the in-between expression shots. Not
Those
so
are the
good.
best ones.
Not
That's
so
who you really are, man.
Yeah. No, don't say that. What a
That's the
horrible
real
thing to say
you,
to me.
man.
Wow, my side swoop is out of control.
It looks
today.
awesome. You have great hair.
Thank you. And a lot of people are surprised that like this has been my hair all along. I've just been like straightening it forever.
Yeah, it's so
It's
pretty.
just
I love that.
crazy.
My hair gets like those kind of curls.
Yeah.
but it's a little, yeah. But I think I have a feeling my hair is a lot, significantly more unmanageable.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Well, it's
When was the last time you
the
had it
mixed
long?
people hair? 2 years ago.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had the Viking braid thing happening.
Yeah.
That's what I was going
You've
for.
had a lot of hairstyles.
Yeah, I really have.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do a little Instagram post because I never do.
Okay. Yeah, I really suck at social media too.
I know. It's hard.
It's
It's
annoying.
just like I'm not narcissistic enough.
No,
That's my
no,
problem.
I'm too selfish. I just want to play video games and read political shit.
Oh my god. Okay. Hello everybody. Look who I finally got in the studio. That's
Hi, I'm Xander. Sorry, I was drinking while you did
That's
that, and
Xander
it
Corvus, by the way.
totally covered my face. Hi, here I am.
There he is.
Here I am.
We're gonna talk about stuff.
We are.
It's gonna be great.
Why does my head look so big?
Cause it is.
It is big. Fuck.
I love your Instagram handle name, by the way. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like not enough people get it.
Really?
But yeah, I mean,
Well, people on the internet are stupid.
yeah.
They really are.
And people
I'm
are
sorry,
like,
but they are.
and people are like babies. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
some people won't know what that is.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. It's funny because the podcast that was in here before was talking about the Cal Worthington commercials. Do you remember those?
Were they California commercials? Because
Yeah.
I was in Ohio.
Okay. You were also like probably not born then.
I was 88. I was a baby.
Yeah, I remember those commercials.
Anyways, he was like this crazy car salesman, and he would do these insane ads with like a tiger.
Yeah,
And
my
stuff like-
drummer told me about this.
Yeah, and he was like, Cal Worthington, come on down.
Yeah.
And he just had like crazy edible. It was nuts. It's so funny because back in the day that seemed so normal. It's fucking Cal Worthington. Like everyone had
Yeah.
tigers in their fucking commercials, and now you're just like, wait a minute, that is really bizarre.
Why are you doing this? I think it should be brought back. I think
It should.
that's a great. I want to just have a tiger for no reason.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
Just-
I actually have shot with a tiger, and it was a thing.
Did they drug it first? 'Cause
No.
A lot of times they
Oh,
do that.
no.
which
I
is
shot,
sad.
no, I shot, she was Penthouse Pet of the Year. Layla Sin. Layla Sin
Yeah, that one.
for Penthouse. And because I hadn't shot for Penthouse for such a long time because I got drunk and went on a forum and talked about how shitty the magazine was. And there was this guy that was a blogger who like nobody knows about these days, named Luke Ford, who was like obsessed with me, and he would take whatever I said and put it on his blog, and everyone read his blog. So basically, he took what I said about Penthouse off this forum, put it on his blog, and the owner of Penthouse wasn't Kelly Holland at the time.
Right.
Called my mom because I was working for my mom,
Wow.
but still, like I got ratted out to my mom
That's awesome.
for what I said, and I was blacklisted for 8 years.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I miss your mom.
my mom's insane. I know. We'll talk about like how the first time, I think the only time I've ever shot you
And it
was.
your mom invited me to go foxing.
Oh, okay. See, I don't remember that. This is great.
She was on a horse. and
Yeah.
Said that we should go
Yes.
do that sometime. I was like, is this real?
Yeah, that's my mom.
It's amazing.
Okay. All right. We're ready. Sorry, we're getting too interesting.
Yeah. We covered all the cool shit already.
We did. Sorry, but if you're a Patreon member, you would have caught all of that because it was live.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, welcome back to the show, everybody. I have the amazing Xander Corvus on. I'm very excited to have you. I've had so many people request you for like
Really?
Oh yeah, a lot of
okay.
people. So I'm glad to finally have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
I was excited.
And I never really get to see you because, well, you're a contract star with Brazzers,
Yeah. Well, yeah. The company.
Mind Geek, but yeah, don't they normally say like Brazzers contract star
I
because
think
that's
that-
like the most recognizable website.
I think that's kind of more like a I'm a Brazzers contract.
Right,
Like, you know
right.
what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
when you're trying to like
yeah.
be showboaty about it, but it's like no, it's a Mind Geek. It's a corporation that owns.
Correct, but like
thing.
if you're gonna say, if you're gonna be introduced
To like
somewhere,
a civilian.
yeah, you're not
Right.
going to be like, this is a Mind Geek contract star. They're gonna be like, who the fuck is Mind Geek?
Right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So like Brazzers is the name that's recognized. So that's
Right.
yeah. But yeah. So I don't shoot.
So so everybody knows like Holly was just kicking me under the table.
sorry,
And
it's like
I think she's trying to drive me to a certain point here. She wants to,
I'm just
wants
trying
me
to,
say
like,
the
I'm
right,
trying to
She wants me to say the right thing.
provoke reaction. But I only shoot for Twisties for them now, which is a girl only website. So I never get the
Yeah.
opportunity to work for you. And then any other companies that I shoot boy girl for, obviously you're not going to shoot boy girl for because you're under contract.
Right. Well, and I actually got really excited too when like, because I did hear that you were doing the Twisties thing, and I think I was unclear on the fact that there's no more boy girl at all. Because I used to
No.
shoot boy girl for Twisties.
Yes.
And I did hear you were on there, and I got really excited.
Yeah.
And then
Well-
home office was like, yeah, well, no.
Yeah,
It's like,
well, here's
oh,
the funny
okay.
thing. So I've actually been shooting for Twisties for over a decade. I've been shooting for Twisties before Mind Geek took them over.
Really?
Back when it was owned by Shep. Yeah, I've
Did
been.
I shoot for you for Twisties?
I don't think so. No. But okay, so yeah, so here's the funny thing. So I'm the longest running shooter for Twisties of all their producers. I've been there the longest.
Okay.
So give me more money. Just kidding. No, seriously, give me more money.
and shoot me for it.
No, they're really good to me. I love working for Twisties. But yeah, so I was always only ever given the girl stuff. I was never given the boy girl stuff, and I don't know if it's because they didn't. A lot of people think I don't shoot boy girl. That's never been true.
You've shot me.
I've always
boy
shot
girl,
boy
yeah.
girl, but people for some reason, because so much of what I shoot is solo and girl, they assume I'm a girl only shooter.
Right.
So they never asked me to shoot boy girl for Twisties. I've shot a couple, like back when they were doing boy girl, but not many. And I did shoot for Brazzers. I did maybe like 10 shoots for them, and then I worked for Digital Playground for a while. But basically, I have not had the opportunity to work with you, and the last time I shot you was when you were brand fucking new, and I shot you at my mom's ranch for
Yep.
Suze.net.
And it was with MMA.
Yes, that beautiful, beautiful girl. She was so hot. And
I was so like, just swoon.
and I
over her.
remember
It's so
thinking, like,
ridiculous.
this kid did really good. He's going to do well. And look, I was so right.
But you shot me again too. You shot me a couple times. You shot me with Skin Diamond and was it Skin Diamond and what's her stage name? Asphyxia Noir.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, for Suze.net too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as well.
I believe so.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
was.
on the ranch.
It was, yes. And then, did I shoot you again after that?
I'm pretty sure you did. I just
I
can't.
don't think so. I don't
Yeah, there
think
was
so.
something else that was out in front of that little.
It would have been
dining
for Suze.
area?
It would have been for Suze.net. I've never shot you for any other company, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was something in some little dining area. It was outside because the Emma thing.
I could literally go on Suze.net right now and actually look it up.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, no, I can't because we don't list stuff by guys' names. Never mind.
Wow.
Sorry.
We don't-
Hey,
we're
it's
just-
a really
we're just-
archaic CMS, and I can't get them to change it
We're
because
just dildos, whatever.
they don't
That's fine.
they don't update anymore. So, anyways, the point is that I haven't seen you in a long time, and it's lovely to see you. And you said that my mom asked you to go fox hunting.
She did.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
She was. It was the first time I met her, and the first time I met Suze, she was on a horse,
Yep.
and she rode up to the fence, and started talking to me and my old agent. And I don't know if you were there. I think you probably were, but yeah, she came up and we were talking about. I think it was like the second time I shot there, and she was talking about the last shoot I did, blah blah. And she was like, oh, I hope to see you do well, blah blah. And then mentioned something about going foxing or something like that. And I was like, am I in like a movie from like the 1800s? Like, what the hell just happened? I got invited.
Yeah, my mom is a different kind of different breed of character. It's interesting though because my mom, because I know her so well
Yeah.
and I know her methods, she purposely tries to make sure that anybody new that she meets at the ranch, she's on a horse. Like she
Really?
100%.
It's like a lording, like a psychological thing.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
kick-ass.
and she's all about establishing dominance. Like
That's
she's
really
really
cool.
bad about that.
Yeah.
And so she loves to meet people when she's on a horse because it's like this, this English woman rides up on this horse and she's really tall and hot. Yeah, exactly. Looking down on you.
Yes.
The whole
To
fucking
the
thing
side
is
and
planned.
down, yeah.
100%.
Like, she's like, I'm just stopping to talk to you, but I have things to do over this way.
Yes, I need
where
to
the
go
horse is."
foxing.
Yeah. It was really cool. I was
Yeah,
really excited.
she's oh my God, Jim South. Do you know who Jim South is?
Yeah.
You do.
I know,
Okay.
I never met him. I don't think I met him.
So
but I know
he's
him.
like the OG original agent. Like back in the day, there was
Right.
literally Jim South, and that was it. There was some other guy, I think named Reza, something like that. But like Jim
From
South
Wu-Tang
was
Clan?
the guy. Is that someone from Wu-Tang Clan?
Yeah, the
Oh,
Reza. Okay,
no,
never mind.
sorry.
Sorry. It's okay. It's all good. You have the cutest smile. I love it.
I like Wu-Tang Clan, but I don't know them that well.
It's all good. Yeah.
So anyhow, he had a surprise birthday party for his 80th, and I took my mother, and this was last weekend. And oh my God, because my mom she retired years ago. She hasn't been around people in the adult industry for a really long time.
Right.
And I spent like the first half of the party telling her to stop grabbing people's dicks and like kicking them and like being like, Mom, you can't do that. Mom, you can't do that. And then I was like, you know what? I give up. And I realized actually, like these people know my mom and they've known her for decades and they know Hurricane Suze and I don't need to protect them from her.
Hurricane Suze.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. And everybody was really happy to see her, but she's just like so outrageous that I just get embarrassed. I mean, that's how all
That's
kids
parents. Yeah, that's parents in
are.
general.
Parents are.
like,
My mom's embarrassing on like a different level.
I'll put my dad I'll put my dad on speakerphone sometimes, like when my friends are around,
Yeah.
just so they can hear how ridiculous he is.
So what is your dad
He-
like?
Oh my God, he's just, he's so like, just like okay. Ever since he found out that I did porn,
Mm-hmm.
he was always like openly like talked about sex stuff and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, because my parents were like swinger kind of like,
Oh, so were
you know,
mine.
they like kind of partied and stuff
Yeah.
back then. Not kind of, they did a lot. But my dad now, he will just call me and I was at the gym with one of my friends and he called me and I was like, oh, hey dad, what's up? And he's like, oh, Mikey, I gotta tell you, I just had the best orgasm of my life. He's like, I don't think I've ever come that much before. And I was like, hey dad, well, okay. And then my stepmom is on the phone and like is in the room with him and she was like, it was amazing, it was so much. And I was like, fucking all right,
Oh my
I'm,
God, that's so
I'm at the gym with people, so we could just wrap this up, dad. That's really neat. But he's always so openly crazy about that kind of
That's
stuff.
so funny because the strange thing about my parents is, yeah, same. I mean, obviously, like very sexually open, and they were swingers as well.
Right.
But the strange thing is that my mom like never wanted to talk about her like personal sex stuff with me. Like she would never say that. She would call herself like the prudish pornographer, and like sometimes my dad would like. I mean, I know all the stories of what they did when they were younger, but like she would never speak explicitly like about her sex life to me. And well, even if she was a little bit drunk and she'd like tell me, you know, about how great Jim Brown was in bed, who like nobody knows who he is,
Yeah.
but
Who is that? Yeah, who is that? off the
he
top
was
of
a
my head?
very famous football player.
Oh, the football
Yeah,
player. Okay, I
like,
didn't know if you meant.
yeah.
realized there's-
No, he's yeah. I guess Jim Brown's a very like, Jim Brown. A lot of people could be a lot of different people, but
There's a lot
yes,
of
it was the
I'm
football
certain
player.
There's a lot of Jim Browns. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the football player. But yeah, otherwise she's not.
Oh, and I totally just said my real name earlier, and that's fine because everyone knows it.
Yeah,
That's
I
like
heard
I've done
that.
it
I
on
was
every podcast. I just kind of I don't care.
Well,
like,
I mean, honestly, these days
Google,
with like
doesn't matter.
Google,
Yeah.
fucking WikiLeaks,
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
like
matter.
everybody's name is out there,
The o-
unfortunately.
and the other thing, like, sorry to totally
It's okay.
digress, but it's like honestly, like now since like everybody in my family, like I probably would have been like, oh no, if it was like my second year in the industry, and I still thought I was like under the thing, and I was like, oh, just under the radar. But now, like after your family knows and you've established yourself, like I'm proud of what I do.
Yeah.
So I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'd rather not have like it gets annoying on like Facebook and on Twitter and stuff when people will like go and like some dude did that the other day. It was like hello Mike or something on my Twitter, and I was like, you're on Xander Corvus's Twitter, dipshit. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, are you trying to deliver like he's got me? Like, go
Yeah.
fuck yourself. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you don't have any special relation to me, motherfucker. Like,
Right.
I don't know. Are we allowed to cuss a lot? Because I cuss a
Yes,
lot. Okay.
totally.
Shit,
No
yeah.
problem. Fuck yeah. Cuss all you want. So how did your parents react when they found out that you were in porn? Was it hard for them at first?
Yeah, my mom freaked out because she's like quite religious and all that. So she had a whole like breakdown of like, oh, what happened to you and Jesus? And blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I kind of only went to youth group for the girls. I don't know if I ever really believed it. But religion actually really did affect me a lot because yeah, my mom got saved when I was like 10, and they had their party lifestyle.
Oh, wow.
Their crazy partying, doing all the wild stuff that my parents did. And then that all ended, so that really put a lot of crack in the marriage. It really messed up their relationship because my dad was like, I like doing all these things, and now that you're
Yeah.
all religious and it's out of the picture, like,
Wow.
what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, what an incredibly huge shift.
yeah, giant shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like, with me with religion, I really struggled with the concept of loving God and the fact that hell could be a place that existed. So I cried a lot as like a kid, like trying to deal with that. Like the fact that like I had a freak out one time during one of our Bible studies. I had like a legit meltdown because we were at the youth group Bible study that we were the church I was a part of, and we were talking about how important mission work is because we go and like we'll go to the Amazon or like some remote place in South America or something to show, to teach these people about the gospel and all this stuff. And so we can save them, right? And that was the whole idea, was to move the mission forward thing. And I get like a little when I talk about it, but like So basically, I had a question about that. I was like, well, what happens to them if they don't know? Like, if they don't know about Jesus, if they don't know about the word, then how?
If you don't reach those people, the people you don't reach.
And they're like, oh, well, God just judges them on the contents of their heart then. And I'm like, okay, so we're fucking them. Like, we're going to a people who've never heard anything about this, bring them this fucking outlandish story with talking snakes and zombies and shit, and all of a sudden, they were fine. They could have been, if they were just nice people, then they would be in heaven and they'd be fine. If they were shitty, they'd go to hell. Okay, I can deal with that idea, right?
Right.
But the fact that now these innocent motherfuckers who are just in the woods being the most human, right? The most human you can be.
Right.
Now we've delivered them this message. So, hey, either believe this insane shit, either Spider-Man's real or you're going to die now and be fucked forever. You know what I mean? Like, you deliver them this insane message. And I flipped out because I was like, how dare you? Why the fuck would we ever go there? Like,
how old
that's
were you?
I was maybe 13, 14.
Wow.
Yeah, and I fucking lost it. I was so angry.
You know, that's a really, I feel like that's a really insightful way to look at that. Did any of your friends see that
I was
as well?
I was in a Christian punk band. That was my first band. We were like Christian oi street punks type stuff, and I was about that age. And all those guys got it, and they got really pissed off too.
Did you guys sing about Jesus?
We only had like one song, but I didn't write that song. Like our drummer's brother wrote the song, and I just performed it. But all of our other songs were actually about how shitty the church is and how judgmental and hypocritical and all this kind of stuff. But the people in our youth group didn't really know that. They didn't really understand. But like we had this song called "Old Lady Brigade," and it was about how, how everybody looked at us when we walked into church. We had the bullet belts and the leopard pants. And I had the Liberty spikes, and Corey and Matt had mohawks, and and like people looked at us when we walked into church and like judged us on it. Yeah. And like one time, sorry, I do this all the time. I just digress into shit.
It's totally fine. We don't have like see this? See how this is completely blank
slate. I love it.
Yeah, we're good. I don't know why I have this. Totally
I love it.
Don't need it.
But we one time this one of the like church ushers like saw us coming in and was like, hey guys, we love that you're a big part of the youth group and you're really involved in all this stuff, and we just were thinking maybe like when you come to service, when you come to worship, it'd be just a little more respectful to the other people here if you just dressed a little more appropriately. And my friend Corey, like without missing a beat, was like, well, that'd be he was like, yeah, that'd be really interesting if we actually came to church to respect people, huh? And I was just like, oh shit! And me and all my like punk rock buddies were like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. And then we just went into church and did our thing. And then we were like, there was another time where we were in the worship, like actually the worship time thing. Yeah. And there was this guy. Basically, there was this thing that would happen where like during the worship songs, like one fucking poser would stand up, and then all the other posers would stand up, right? And so they were like, oh, and we called it the wave of grace, and we would always just do like the wave thing, like, oh, look, it's happening. Everybody's fucking moved. Yeah. Like, it's like, yeah, if you feel moved to like worship in a different way, then do it. That's beautiful. But if it becomes this like,
you feel obligated.
Going with the herd thing, where you're just doing it because everybody else is doing it, like that's the most empty shit ever. Like it's so lame and almost disrespectful to the thing you're supposed to be worshiping and praising. So we would always just sit unless we felt like we were into it. Unless the song was really good and we really felt moved by it and we wanted to move to it, then for sure. This usher comes up and he's like, oh, guys, it's kind of rude if you guys aren't standing while everybody else is standing. And I was like, it's kind of rude that you're talking in church. And once again, we all were like, like, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those things where
This is so interesting to me because I've literally never been to church. I was raised an atheist.
I think by never involving yourself in anything like that, have a more pure connection to whatever it is that's beyond all this anyway. Because once you start structuring shit and trying to put God in a box and stuff, like the concept of God is so like that. The concept of God is even putting it in a box. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when anytime a human tries to tell you that I understand how this is, and I've written this book to tell you how this is what God wants, and this is what a person wants. Right. This is what your mind reasoned from something far beyond what you can ever even have an inkling of a conception of what the hell goes on. Like this fucking thing is busy building stars. If it's a sentient thing, it's organizing the universe. And you think it gives a shit about whether you're jerking off or you're gay? Like no, it's got shit to do, man. Yes, like exactly. It doesn't care at all. So yeah, that's I despise the idea of organized religion. I think it's the worst, most cancerous thing that's ever happened to like
Yeah.
spiritually.
And yeah, unfortunately, it's like it's one of those things that you can kind of like twist it whatever way you want. There's people who, have religion and they believe it in a way that works for them and they don't let it, guilt them into, hating. I mean, I think the whole idea of like, original sin and all the guilt is really a terrible thing to teach your children that
Well, yeah,
like
it's
you were
abusive. It's
you were
fucking
born
abusive.
bad
Yeah, it's fucking
and you
abusive.
need to spend the rest of your life
Repenting
for that, which seems to be crazy to me. But I also, there's people who really need it, and I totally understand that you need to believe in something bigger than yourself.
which is fine. But
Right.
I think that relationship is a personal thing. I don't
Right.
think it shouldn't be talked about.
Right.
I don't think you should have to like keep your religion in like a little like I can't speak
Yeah.
to how I feel about God. You can always. It's great to have conversations about how you feel about God and how what you think brings you closer to. I'm just using God as a term because it's relatable. You know what I
Right.
mean? But I think that's
You can use it as an acronym for so many things. Good orderly direction.
yeah, that's some AA stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's, that's
Group
some-
of drunks.
Yeah, group of drunks. Yeah.
Whole bunch of things.
Yeah, but I think oh fuck.
God,
Yeah,
organized
the personal
religion.
the personalized the personalized thing of it is like here's just a little this is just a little roundabout philosophy of like what I think is happening.
Okay.
Right? So if there was this thing, and I wrote a paper on this when I was like in high school for my youth group, which didn't go over well. But I said like, so basically if God is this thing that is, if we're going to call it a sentient thing, right? If it's
Right.
got its own concept of reality and
Right.
time. I was like, okay, so this thing exists in and out of time. It's always been, never wasn't, it always will be this omnipresent thing. So it just has a giant playground of universe to create and observe and do all this kind of stuff, right? It can literally do anything at any time. Like
Right.
It's formless and it's form. It's all the things. So it has no concept of mortality or like what's important in a limited time frame, right? It just has its omnipresent view of everything all the time. So I think in order for it to learn more, because I think that's all it's doing, is it was kind of alone in this thing and it doesn't know what's happening around it. So to learn about this open playground of a universe that it's in, it creates all different forms of life and matter for those things to experience, right? So during our experience, like it's basically like we're a bunch of little satellites that have been sent out by a scientist just to observe all these different things. So dogs, cats, microbes, like all these different things are different forms of life that have learned to adapt and protect themselves and multiply and attack things, even like just really learning to let life completely go and see what happens.
It's like a science experiment.
Yeah, it's an observational science experiment.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's also why I believe that God doesn't intervene, because
Right.
if you intervene in an experiment, you ruin the results. It's no longer like a valid experiment.
Right.
Because if you're watching to see if this like falls off once, if on a balance, and if you're like, oh, I don't want it to fall off that side, so you're going to tip it.
Right.
Now you've done it, and you've ruined the entire purity.
Right.
Of it. So, yeah, I think that that's the whole, and this is just my concept
Right.
of it, so it's like, I feel like that's all that God wanted to do,
Right.
was to see every intricate aspect of what its universe is.
So you don't think that it has any like necessarily emotion or attachment to anything or any influence? Like, do you believe in like manifesting things? Do you believe
I
in
think
like
that
praying to
we
God if there's
have
something that you want?
power.
Okay.
I don't think that we can. I don't think there's like a cash and receipt type thing with God, like where you can go and be like, hey, help me with my homework. I know there's starving kids and like horrible atrocities going on in the world, but I need my biology homework. Like, no, like I don't think that that's the thing. I think if anything, we can focus our own energy on stuff and like really, that's the only manifesting thing I really believe in. Like, I don't know, there could be a whole universe of magic we don't understand, and we call it magic because we haven't figured science to it yet. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
Like psychic things and things like that. I'm sure we're gonna evolve that shit anyway. Like we just keep evolving new things all the time. So I don't think that's too far fetched. but I also, I don't believe that God will interfere in the experiment. I don't think, and also people can take that as like they can take that like dark nihilistic stance where it's like, nothing matters and God doesn't care, God's dead. Like,
Right.
I don't believe that. I think that it just, look at the way we look at bacteria growing on your sink,
Okay.
right? You don't care about it, right? You just want it to not be there.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't mean you're a monster. Like, technically, that is genocide on a huge level, right? So technically, you're a fucking war criminal, but you're not, because it's something that is so tiny.
Right.
It is not valid like that in your universe.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And I think that's, people love to believe that, humans, we are very special. We're these things that like, like, why wouldn't
God's
God care about
creatures, we're
us?
God's
We're God's
children.
chosen
Right.
fucking.
He
Okay,
made one
really?
of us in his
Yeah.
image.
Do you know how many? There's more stars.
One of him in his, our image.
Yeah.
One of him in our image.
He was made in our image, I think.
Right.
But
Sorry. Again, I never went to church, so sorry.
No.
My
I'm
bad.
not talking about the church part. I'm talking about what I think.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
think
I know, I
God
know.
was, But no, I think that shit. Where was I?
Bacteria, genocide.
Yeah, bacterial genocide. No,
Just
I
the
think
idea that God, like, I think you're saying that as much as we want to believe we're the center of
Right.
the universe,
that
we're not.
special. Yeah, we're very much not. We're not.
Right.
We're an outward spiral arm, little tiny thing
Mm-hmm.
that's so small.
So what
But
do
it doesn't mean we're useless.
right.
It means we're very special, because we are tossed into this thing without any guidance or any way to decide
Yeah.
what we're going to do with our lives. But that's what makes it beautiful and important.
Right.
Is we give meaning to whatever we want to give meaning to. Like, meaning isn't assigned to us.
Right.
We assign things meaning.
I like that. So what do you think then is the meaning of life, or what do you think you are here for? Like, what do you feel like your presence on this earth is for?
Whatever I want it to be.
Okay.
Whatever path I take is the right path. Like, there's not like a wrong path, because even if you do evil shit, that's when heroes can step in and become what they want, what they are. That's how you get heroes. That's how you get good people. You need altruistic, wonderful people to show up and stop terrible people from doing terrible things.
It's like natural disasters, when like the best of humanity comes out in natural disasters. Like
Yeah.
people like trying to help out strangers
Yeah.
and rescue.
I think
know?
humans are in fact natural disasters and relief
Yeah.
efforts. There are people that exist right now who are disastrous human beings, and they're
Yes.
hurting a lot of people. And it's gonna take the right kind of people to go about it the right way to stop these people from doing terrible.
Right, right. I read. I'm.
'Cause we're a natural disaster.
I wish I could remember who it was. I almost want to say that I think I remember who the author was, but I don't want to misquote them. But it was this whole idea that, like, our problem is kind of that we live in such an easy world that we have everything's
Yes.
instant gratification. We don't have to fight for a lot. We don't have to work hard for a lot. And that human beings are conditioned to handle natural disasters, and how that sense of like living in a hard life builds a sense of community and a sense of purpose.
Right.
And that people these days, and this is, especially true with the rising instances of anxiety and depression and suicide, like the easier life gets, and like the more technology helps us like navigate, the simple things, and the more like almost like free time we have, or the more, things that we can achieve, like the unhappier we become.
Yeah. Was that the entertaining ourselves to death?
No,
You know what I'm talking about, though?
no. I mean,
What's that book called?
yeah,
It's a
it
book that was
wasn't
written
that
in
book.
the 80s about how, instant gratification and media and stuff like that is triggering this. But no, what you're saying is super, super yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super yes.
Yes, super yes. The most yes. And that's terrifying, because I've talked about this before, where it's, our generation doesn't so much have a great war or something
Yeah.
we can rally behind.
They were literally
our
saying, like-
crisis is it sounds demeaning to like how huge it is to say it's a crisis of boredom, but it's this meaningless, it's this meaningless kind of like
It's a
aimless
meaningless
nihilism like
existence,
lifestyle,
yeah.
where we don't. But that's the trick. I think.
Right.
Is that's the point of why we feel this way, and that's why like the powers that be want us to maintain this feeling of just zombieing
Ineffectuality.
along. Yeah, they want us to maintain this because that's how they sell us more things. That's how they do. That's how they're like, oh, like you're like, yeah, like I am empty and I have nothing to live. Like there's nothing really here for me. Like I don't like.
Or
feel
I'm not
anything.
good enough
Oh,
as
look,
I am.
a new iPhone with 3 cameras. Like, yeah, that's the whole. That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if we find individual purpose and really, if we lived in a society that allowed us to be free, like where you could still have your health taken care of and all this stuff, and you could have all these things and make time to just start fucking whittling, and that's like what you do now. That would be incredible. Like
Right.
if you're gonna be that person who whatever weird thing you want to do that's your passion, like that shit gets crushed out of you when you're a kid. You know, and like I remember my grandma. The reason I stopped trying to play piano because I was trying to get into it when I was a kid just to like, teach myself. And my grandma actually said to me one time, I was sitting there and I was trying to write this song and I was just playing these things. I kept playing this one part over and over because I was trying to figure out where to go with it. You know how you do when you're playing music. And trying to figure out, and she was like, oh my God, would you stop playing the same damn song? And I'm just like, and it crushed like a part of my like creativity and my like soul at the time. Like I remember getting really emotional about that.
Yeah.
And I just stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Because what I was doing to try to be something I felt good about was
Right.
crushed by somebody that I cared about and like
Right.
respected. You know what I mean?
It's crazy how as adults you can these little and your grandmother probably thought nothing of it really, you know.
Well, she was treated like shit by her parents.
But she
So
I doubt
it was
she
one of
said
those
that
things.
recognizing how much it would hurt you, and
Absolutely
it's
not,
funny
yeah.
how like kids are sponges, you know, like one thing you say to them can just water off a duck's back. They don't pay any attention. One other little thing that you say to them, they're just like it affects them for the rest of their life, and you
Yeah.
carry that with you forever.
My dude, and I like therapy helps. You know,
Yeah,
every time I
totally.
like, there was one experience I had with one of my ex-girlfriend. She, her daughter, one time, like, cause her family and like all of us, like, we pretty much talked how we would talk normally around her. I mean, not sex stuff, obviously, but there was one point where I got them a Wii for Christmas. I got the little one a Wii for Christmas, and we were all sitting there playing Mario Party, and we were playing, and she was in 3rd place, and she lost to Donkey Kong, right? And like me or my ex won, and she was fine with losing. Like she was okay with it, and she would just try harder, which is amazing quality in a little kid.
Yeah.
But as soon as Donkey Kong beat her and it showed that on the screen, she just went, "Fucking Donkey Kong," and we were like, don't react. She can't know that. Like, first off, we think that's really funny because she used it right. Like, she fucking perfectly used it.
How old is she?
She was 8 at the time. I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
But it was so fucking funny. I was just like, oh my God.
Don't
like,
reward the swearing.
Don't let her know we think that's funny.
Yeah.
But no, with the other like emotional stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that stuff really, it's crazy. Like, there's still things I hear nowadays that have an effect on me.
Oh, totally.
Like one of the reasons that I always have like paid for everybody's everything, which is a huge problem that I have to work on too, is like not trying to pay for everybody all the time because I'll do it to like
Really?
indebt myself almost at that
Do you
point.
want to get lunch out there?
Sure, let's go. Yeah, it was my therapist has said like like that part of that comes from the fact that your dad would always throw his financial situation or his financial circumstance in the kids' faces.
Right.
So anytime I was like, "Oh, Dad, like, can we go to this thing?" and be like, "We don't have the goddamn money for that," blah blah blah.
Right.
You know, we don't have this, and I was like, Jesus, and I didn't realize how much that affected me until I actually went to therapy and stuff, and like realized that that's part of why I am the way I am now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember, so my mom is a huge horse person, and I was...
So she's a centaur.
That's good.
Thanks.
So I was an equestrian like my whole life, like ever since I could walk. I got my first pony at 7. I competed. I actually qualified for the Junior Olympics before I quit, which my mother still hasn't forgiven me for. But it was really like her dream for me to go to the Olympics. It wasn't mine.
Yeah.
And it was something that I didn't want to do like my entire childhood. I really, like, I had to give up so many other activities so that I could ride horses. I couldn't do Girl Scouts. I remember being crushed about that. I know this sounds like a horribly like white privilege problem, and I get that. And
No,
it is,
but
but
it's
still like you can't like deny how things make you feel. So
That's what I'm saying. It's totally valid. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what state of privilege or anything somebody was born into.
Right.
Like emotional shit still affects you emotionally. You're not just crying and like wiping your tears with $100 bills. Like, that doesn't make you feel better. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the
totally.
shit still affects you. Even
right.
the human brain's fucked no matter how much money you have.
Yeah.
Or what privilege or race
This
or
is
anything.
so
Like,
true.
We're such fragile little shits.
So true. So I just like absolutely, and now that I kind of do whatever I want to do, like I absolutely hate, like I'm so obsessed with control now. And I think a lot of it was because I felt like I couldn't control like what I did as a child. I was very much about like, what my parents, thank you. I need more hand space.
No, I was gonna see if you would put it back. I was experimenting on your control
I
thing.
see.
Okay, go ahead. You're doing good. You're doing really. Oh. Tap the thing. I'm playing chess now. All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I think that that's a huge reason why I'm so obsessed with control, because I didn't feel a sense of control at all when I was a kid. Like my mom was very much about like, you are going to ride horses 7 days a week, like all the time. And, super strict about grades and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I very much have like issues with control now, where like I have to be in control of absolutely everything. Otherwise, like I lose it. And, obviously my mom she wasn't trying to make me crazy. It was just something that she loved to do. And it was an
Right.
experience she wanted to share with me, as her daughter. And, she, wanted me to love it as much as she did. And I didn't. And she couldn't really accept the fact that I didn't, because,
Yeah.
she thinks that she always knows best. But, and of course it wasn't until like I started, got sober and started going to started going to rehab. Like I've been many times. I've only been twice.
Yeah.
And started going to therapy.
Totally legit, right, yeah.
That I started to realize, that it wasn't, you finally get to a point where you recognize that your parents were doing the best with what they had.
Right. Well, and it's that's a huge realization for. I think that's kind of when you really reach like adulthood.
Yeah.
It's
When you're like, oh,
you stop,
okay.
like.
Yeah, blaming
Yeah.
your parents for everything.
Well, not just blaming your parents for everything, but when you stop, like, what's that word? Like,
Playing the
exalting
victim?
your parents into things, like where you're just like, oh, like my dad's the strongest dad, blah blah, and you realize that your parents weren't always just right and empirically the ones who knew the things. Like they're just as dumb and fucking useless as you are. Like that's like.
Do you
they
remember
had
the
no
moment when
idea.
like you realized your
Yes.
parents were like actually not this like
Yeah.
all knowing, like all powerful being, and like that was kind of like whoa,
Yeah. And then you're like, because it's scary. You're
Yeah.
just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, because
Like-
if you can't protect me from the world and tell me what to do
Yeah.
and be right about it, then like I gotta figure that shit out by myself.
And then I'm gonna have a little thing that I'm gonna do the same
And
thing.
then I'm
too.
gonna be, yeah, exactly.
oh,
Like, there's
fuck,
no
this
way
is
you're not gonna fuck up
terrible.
your kid.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can be the most perfect parent ever, but there's gonna be something that you're gonna do unknowingly to like affect your child in some
Yeah.
adverse way or some positive way. I mean, it's like a mixed bag. My
Yeah,
parents are
it's-
great, but they weren't without their faults.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too, is you have to accept that your parents are just like you in these situations. And a lot of times they were like my mom was 20 and my dad was 25. Like they're fucking children. I'm older than my parents were when they
Yeah.
had me. Like that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like if I would have had a kid when I was 20, it would have been. I would. Oh man, I might have been better actually. I might have been better as a person. Like not as a person. That was dark. I might have not been so. I probably wouldn't have been partying and drinking and doing all.
You
the
wouldn't
dumb
have been
things that I
so,
did.
yeah.
I would have had the dad mode down,
Right.
But
You would have
I
had
still didn't
something
even know
that
who
you
I
were
was.
responsible for. Yeah.
I don't like. I barely am getting to really know myself now.
I feel like we never get there.
Yeah, it's
Like, it's always a constant
part of the
journey.
whole journey. Yeah.
Speaking of journey, we're going to journey on over to a commercial break to hear from our sponsors.
Nice.
And then we'll be back with more very deep, dark conversations. So
Yay.
stay tuned. Okay. Do you need anything?
I think I'm good.
Dude, we went like fucking straight into God. That was crazy. That was awesome. This has been like a, yeah. People were like, when are they going to talk about porn? When are we going to hear about his dick?
Isn't there supposed to be titties? I don't know what's happening.
Oh my God. Okay, so I probably should start asking you about like how you got in the industry and everything, and then we can go
But that's
into
the
like.
conversation that always happens.
I know. I know.
I've said
I'm
that on
sure
the-
it'll lead back to fucking God and
I'll
like the
find a way
meaning
to
of
loop it
you'll
into
find
that,
a
yeah.
way. Exactly. Okay, are we good? Okay.
I'll find a way to do it. Yeah.
Okay. We're back.
Yeah.
So Xander and I were just laughing about probably how everybody's listening to this like, isn't this a porn podcast? But as I've said many times, the show is just about actually talking to people who happen to work with me in the adult industry, and we don't always have to talk about porn. We can talk about what we're passionate about.
Right.
And obviously you're passionate about many things. But before we once again, I don't know why I have my hands out like this.
Conjuring a conversation. All right. Go ahead.
Before we once again somehow derail into the meaning of life,
Right.
would you like to tell us how you actually got into the porn industry? And you know, this whole thing started with me asking you how your parents reacted to that, and then we got into God, and then it was like, woo, runaway train after that.
I do that. Conversations, people are like, so what kind of shoes are those? Well, let me tell you something about shoes. And I just like can go on to like, and that's why, that's how the pyramids were built. You're like, what the fuck just happened? So yeah, I got on a bet. Somebody bet me that I couldn't do it. We were drunkenly talking about it, and because I was making jokes about how like I was a mainstream actor first, and I did a bunch of like short, I was on Nickelodeon, and
Really?
I was on Zoe 101 for like 2 episodes. And,
Really?
yeah, it was just a small, like, wasn't like a huge, that
Yeah.
wasn't like a thing. I did that. I did like a bunch of. I did this. I did these commercials for basically like the Italian like major cable network thing. That was on like billboards in Italy and shit. But I did this whole commercial thing for their DVR thing that they'd released, whatever. Like their remember when that was the thing.
Yeah.
So
DVRs?
I
Yeah.
did this whole thing where it was like, this big commercial for that, and it was like I was the son of the family, and I had to like speak Italian. I don't speak Italian, and they had to like give me what to say in Italian.
Why didn't they just hire an Italian actor?
I fucking don't know. But I don't know. So I was doing a bunch of cool stuff like that. I was in a couple like little indie movies and things, and then the writer's strike happened, and there was no work at all
Right.
for any actors, especially young.
Yeah.
Like new actors, it was nothing.
Who didn't
So-
speak Italian.
Who didn't speak Italian, and but we, I was making a joke about how I was like, I'm just gonna quit and just do porn. Like I can't.
Yeah.
There's no work. I'm fucked. I'm working like 3 jobs, and then it kept escalating and escalating and escalating, and finally, had my first shoot for Penthouse from that. One of my friends called somebody at Penthouse and set it up, and then
Wow, your
My
first shoot
first
was
hit.
for Penthouse.
and I got
Most guys don't get to
and I
start
got contracted
there.
on Penthouse too. That was like the first thing. I was 6 months. I was only allowed to shoot for Penthouse.
Wow,
Yeah.
you like started at the top.
I know.
'Cause most guys have to start in like blow bangs.
Yeah.
Like no joke.
No, I
Like they
know.
throw you into a blow bang. They're like, well, if you can keep your dick hard around a bunch of other guys who are jerking off furiously
Yeah.
on this girl's face who doesn't care about any of you,
Yeah.
then maybe you can make it.
Yeah.
So what was your first? Who was your first shoot with?
The first one was Janet Mason,
Okay,
and the second one,
she's
which
the
is also the
MILF
same day,
redhead,
yeah.
right? Okay.
And then the second shoot, which is the same day, was
Wait a minute. Your
Yeah.
first, you did 2 scenes in your first. Who the fuck booked you on that?
I think the way it happened was like the second. I think they had another male talent, and then it was so long ago now, but I'm pretty sure, the other male talent didn't show up,
Okay.
and so
I
I
was
was like,
gonna
I can
say-
do it. Yeah, I was like,
I was gonna say because there's
And-
no. First of all, I hate shooting new male talent just
Yeah.
because like it's not an easy job and most guys
Yeah.
can't do it. You know what I mean? So like
I-
when they're brand new, it's tough. So if somebody's first scene, I would have never in a million years booked them on 2 in the
Yeah.
same day. Most guys, professional guys, can't do that.
yeah, and I was like, this is my first time touching fake tits. Like, like I got 8 more of these. Let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
But
Did you have a hard time? So what was?
I
so
just
you,
didn't know how to open.
Okay.
I
that's
fucked
always the
as
thing.
if I would do it at home.
Yeah, that's always
You know
the
what I mean?
thing.
I didn't
Yeah.
really know. You can probably find the scenes on Penthouse still.
I'm sure.
It was Janet Mason was the first one, and Ariella Ferrera was the second one.
Okay.
And I think my name was actually Jack Corvus back then.
Ah.
But then I found out that copyrighted names aren't okay. So I was like, oh, I guess Mega Man isn't cool with everyone. So I chose the fucking Mega Man character. But yeah, so then we changed it to Xander because I was like,
Yeah.
the whole Satanism thing. In
Right.
Santa Fe.
Right. Wow. So, okay, so were you scared? You must have been nervous on your first shoot, right?
No, not at all.
You weren't?
Nope. I was so excited.
Wow.
So I like having an audience. I always
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that confirmed it. I was like, I love this. This is awesome. There's people watching. I'm doing the thing. It's great.
The producers must have been so impressed with you. I mean, if they
think
signed you to a
was
contract.
I was too high on like doing that
Yeah.
I didn't even notice what was good or bad. Like I
Right.
was just like,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. And then your parents found out.
Right.
So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we are not going back into
wow.
God.
Way to do that.
Okay, so your mom was unhappy because she was born again.
Yes.
How did your father react?
He's a dude from Ohio, like that grew up and I think he was born. He's 60 now, 60s, almost 70. So he has some very old school thoughts on things. So his first thing with me ever was I called him and I was like, hey, like, this is why I'm making some money. I can come back and visit. I can do different kinds of things. And he was like, well, yeah, was it legal? Is it, whatever? And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. It's legal. It's cool. And I was like, he was like, well, what is it? And I was like, I'm shooting porn, Dad. And he's like, goes quiet. And my dad's a huge dude. Like, he's like,
I've seen pictures of him.
yeah, he's a massive man. And
Yeah.
he is like, so when he goes quiet, that was like when I was a kid, when I was like, oh.
That's when it's scary. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is I'm about to, oh no, this is going to be a bad day. So he goes kind of quiet on the phone. And I was like, oh man. And he's like, you ain't doing that gay shit, are you? And I was like, what? No, like I have sex with women on
Oh my
camera for money.
God.
And he was like, oh, son, I gave you a dick for a reason. I'm glad you're using it. And I was like, like the whole dynamic changed.
Wow.
Like that's when he felt like, oh, floodgates are open. So let me tell you about this blowjob. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Like I was like, still not super comfortable with that. But so he so his only concern was that, and he was so stoked about it. Like he would tell me like him and his friends would be like having like one of their parties, and they would go to like the porn store in Ohio, and like this is back when Spider-Man, when my first the Axel Brown Spider-Man thing came out, when I was
Okay.
Spider-Man for him, and there was a big poster of me with the backpack and the mask off there, and he was like standing there like pointing at it with his friends, like, hey, what's that? It's my boy. Like I was like, it's just so fucking funny.
That's
But,
awesome.
Yeah. So
he supports you.
yeah, and they both do now. Mom. Once I explained, like I was like, oh, like we're tested like crazy. Everything's really regulated. Like everybody's pretty responsible. And I like kind of like went over all that with my mom. She was like, okay, well, I don't know. And then now she's like, she knows where I am in the industry and like what I'm doing and how.
Like you're one of the top male performers and you're contracted. And so like,
I mean, I don't think any of those things, but sure. Yeah. I think I'm just I'm a guy
stating
who got
facts.
lucky.
Brazzers
in a thing.
doesn't sign like mopes. You know what I mean? And there's not a
Yeah.
lot of contracted male stars.
That's true. Yeah.
And you guys are difficult to come by. Like
Yeah.
every time a solid male performer signs a contract, I'm always so bummed. 'Cause I'm like, fuck, we just lost another one. Because it's like you guys are hard. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, you're hard. That's why we like you, and we need more of you. It's very difficult.
No, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. Thank you. That's a very nice thing for you to say. I'm working on taking compliments. It's
hard
difficult.
to do.
'Cause I usually just like deflect and make a joke. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what
I get
that's
it.
always what I've done. Like I'm like red right now probably, but
I get it.
I mean, I think a lot of the difficulty in being a male performer, like it's like I can't speak to the difficulty of female performers because I am not one. So I don't feel like I have a place to do that. Like I can say the opinions of my friends who are female performers, but I can't really empirically say this is how it is. But a lot of male talent, we struggle, not we, but there's male talent who struggle with that toxic masculinity thing, where it's like you want to show up and be the biggest dick and the fucking fuck the girl the hardest and do all this kind of stuff, and it's like these are all ridiculous concepts that you've let take hold in your brain. You know what I mean? Like you have to, like you can. you have a vagina. Like,
Do I?
whoa.
No one's ever seen it before, so who knows?
But no, the
And by no one, I just mean the internet.
Right.
I mean, people have seen it before.
so you
Yes.
do have
Yes,
a no,
I do.
no,
I
so-
do. You got me.
so the like some of these guys will come in here and think like, you know, oh, you fucked a girl super hard and that's what all women want. Like that's how you know you're a fucking stud. And you're this,
Yeah.
Like, no, vaginas aren't gates to castles to be.
What the fuck is that?
No fucking clue.
Love that song.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so
Okay.
anyway,
So anyways,
vaginas aren't castle gates to be rammed as you raid the castle. It's not that. That's not how they work.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to actually be good at sex and to be like, to please someone else. Like, I mean, you have to be in tune with what they're feeling, how they're reacting to things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of times I think that some guys will come into this thing because I came in pretty humble. Like, I mean, I had no idea what was happening. So like when I met like Tony Rebus and like Mick Blue and all those guys, like I was never like, yeah, I'm right there banging this chick with you. I'm just like, yeah, dude, like show me what you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn what these guys,
Right.
how they did shit, how they treated people, how all this shit ran. Like I wasn't coming in here like, I'm gonna kill this shit and I'm badass. Like,
Yeah.
fuck that. No, I was like, I have no idea what's happening. I'm just enjoying this ride,
Right.
you know? And I'm not saying that I'm better for thinking that way. I'm just saying that if you're coming in here with that cocky ass attitude, you're soap bubbling yourself. So the second that you do start to see any kind of waver in your performance, you're going to fucking explode.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
So it's much better to come into a thing like this with humility and excitement to learn
Yeah.
than it is coming in pretending like you're a badass because you're going to get worked.
Well, and also too, I think what a lot of guys don't realize is that in most porn scenes, it's really not that much about the guy. It's about the girl. It's about showcasing the girl. And you guys are an integral part of the scene. And honestly, like the scene really relies on you. And usually the guy is a huge part of what makes a great scene.
Right.
But you kind of almost don't like
We're not the
make
focal
that
point.
obvious.
Yeah.
And that makes you a great performer. If you can showcase the girl in a great way and make her look amazing,
Yeah.
then you've done your job.
The metaphor that I use is like the girls are the works of art, and we're the gallery that displays them, right? So like
I like that.
You guys are the focal points. We
Yeah.
want to make you look amazing. But if you just slapped a bunch of fucking art on a wall,
Yeah.
then who's to say that it looks amazing, right?
Right. Right. What do you mean?
If you just randomly did that,
If you just randomly threw up a bunch of
Yeah.
weird photos on the wall,
yeah, it's.
yeah.
I support LSD. That's fine. But no. So like like, and you can go deeper in the analogy with like the metaphor with how like if you go to certain art galleries and you see how the light hits this certain painting and the way this light hits this certain, especially a sculpture, right? So that's easily with these lights.
Yeah.
You got to know how to put that sculpture to that light,
Right.
so that sculpture looks fucking pristine.
Yeah.
You have to know how just to like hold the girl, to display her, to make her not look like no girl looks angelic, beautiful, and like pile driver. You know what I mean? Like there's no one looks good in pile driver.
Yeah.
Guys, we look horrifying. And
It's a really
just
weird
fucking squatting over
position.
like, yeah, you like that? Like, no, who
It's
the
a
fuck would ever like
weird,
this?
weird
Like, this
position.
is, like, it's,
Nobody likes pile
you
driver.
know what really likes it? My neck. It's really great. My neck is really into this.
And your boobs are like
Yeah,
in
your
your
boobs are fucking
face,
coming out
and,
here.
like
Yeah.
it's just like
Like,
bad.
we just look so strange. But yeah, I mean, there's yeah, once guys start thinking this is about them, it's just a fucking joke.
Right.
It's such a joke. And like that was the old joke we would tell at Penthouse, because like a lot of times when I would just be doing one scene when I first started with Penthouse, like Cisco and some of the other people would be like, "Hey man, can you stick around? Like, cause you were your first scene, can you just hang out for a
In
little
case
bit?"
the other guy can't
It's
do
like
it.
we got this new guy, and I was like, "It's whatever, I'll hang out." Like I
Yeah.
love everybody on set, so I'm
Right.
like, I'm gonna fucking kick it for however long. That was back when Penthouse had catering too, boy. And I was like, shit, there's so much food to
Back
eat.
in the day.
Yeah, and so I would hang out and like, I would always meet the male talent guy, and if he was that dude who walked in there like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna fucking wreck all these chicks, I'm gonna smash so much pussy, blah blah blah, and I'd be like, I'm gonna be doing your scene. That's gonna happen. Like, good luck, bud. See you in 20 minutes when you're fucking pulling taffy for. It's not gonna happen.
So what do you do when because you must have had days when maybe you're feeling a little bit off, or you just didn't have chemistry for the female performer, or like you really felt like
No,
she was
I'm
like
fucking perfect.
didn't want to be there, like,
Yeah.
or you're just really not attracted to her. How do you handle that?
I go into like weirdo hentai land in my mind, and so
Okay.
I'm not even, and that's usually what happens, especially like when like it's like pop shot time. If I'm like really not into a person, or the other thing I do is I focus on something that I find beautiful, right? Especially
So
if it's
interesting. Every guy says that.
yeah,
Almost every guy.
Yeah?
They find something about the girl that they like.
yeah. You have to find that one thing and just fucking laser focus.
Yeah.
And that's. I mean, I think that's pretty much that's the consensus because that's the way to do it. I think
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's some guys who would rather fucking like American Psycho themselves in the mirror and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of those dudes.
That would be really great, actually. Like if a guy was having a hard time coming, you know how like sometimes like they'll excuse themselves to like go to the bathroom to kind of,
Oh,
and a
yeah.
lot of times like they watch porn on their phone
I
or whatever.
will
But it would be
guarantee you-
hilarious if you just walked in and the guy was just staring at himself in the mirror, just jerking off, and like that was getting him hard.
I will
I feel like actually that'd be a great thing in a movie.
absolutely
I'm putting that in a movie.
guarantee that has happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh wait, hold on.
100%.
Let me just get my edge again.
Yeah.
Where's the mirror?
Fetch me a mirror.
Fetch me a mirror.
Yeah, it's happened for sure. Yeah, dude, it's so crazy. No, but yeah, that's the way I do it. Is I focus on the thing that I really like about a girl, and it can be anything.
Yeah.
It can be a girl's hair, or just her eyes. You can't do eyes if you don't like the person, though. I think.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's usually my issue with not like working well with another female, like with a female talent, is like if it's gonna, I'm sure somebody can twist this to make it sound really fucked up, but if I don't like you as a person, then it's gonna be really difficult for me to have sex with you.
Of course.
Like
Of course.
if you're, and I don't mean, I purely mean this into like, if you treat people like shit, if you're like a rude person, or just like, like if you've treated that's one thing that kills me, dude, is when other talent treat crew like they're second class citizens, subhuman things.
Yeah.
Like that, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of shit. Like if you go on a date with somebody and they're rude to like service people at a restaurant, you're just like, oh no.
You're that kind of person.
I don't think this is gonna
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
your carriage has arrived. Like, fuck ugh, gross.
So I want to ask you about another thing.
Yes.
Your father is black,
He is.
and I will admit.
Wait, what?
Your father's black and I have a vagina. Who fucking knew? So I will
Blow the
admit
lid
that
off
I
this
didn't
thing.
know that until you posted that picture of him online. Because you do look,
Yeah.
you know this, you look very white.
What?
So,
My mind is being blown. Yeah.
so how was that for you growing up? Because you're biracial.
Yeah. Growing up, it was really weird. Like I didn't know it was weird until I was an adult.
Of course. As
Because
a
I didn't
child,
see-
children don't see color. They don't become racist until they're taught by other people
Right.
to become racist, or until society tells
Yeah.
you you're different or you're weird.
It's very much learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had some really strange experiences at that. Like, first off, I was the only mixed kid that I knew. There wasn't any other in Columbus.
Do you not have any siblings?
I have a sister, but she has a different mom.
Okay.
But she also looks really light skinned. Like
okay.
she looks black, but she's very light skinned. So I think my dad's genes from mixing in during slavery has made their side look significantly lighter.
Yeah.
But it's weird because there's some people on my dad's side who are
Yeah.
very dark skinned, and then the majority of them are like not as like
Yeah. Well, I mean, like my friend Rashida Jones, her dad is obviously black,
yeah
and she looks pretty white.
yeah.
Yeah. Don't you think?
I mean yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. But with us, that's the thing with like mixed people. We don't. We can turn out any like. We
Yeah.
can turn out any way. It's the hybrid theory. You know,
Yeah.
it's like how 1 in 4 of an offspring will take on the recessive genes as opposed to the dominant genes.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
So
And by the way, like mixed race kids are always the best looking kids.
Fucking
like
right.
they really are. There was a really interesting like Freakonomics documentary about how, and they were searching for like the most beautiful person in the world, and a worldwide ideal like definition of beauty, and they actually in the end I think concluded that it was literally like a mix of all of the races. Like just a person that was just everything.
well, way to cover all your bases.
I guess so, right? Yeah, no, but you can come out and be
the
like,
most
oh,
politically correct answer
Yeah.
is everyone. But it's true though.
It was
It's
interesting. I
true.
mean, there was this whole.
Yeah.
I should find it, but there was a whole science thing, and they did like because people usually find beauty is
Symmetry.
symmetry, yeah, and just that inbreeding with and within like your own race and constant inbreeding
Right.
is actually like you pick up a lot more
Yeah.
problems.
It's true. Yeah. But I think also with that, just like with genetics, it's throughout history, we've just like animals, we've evolved things that are more attractive or less attractive. You know what I mean? That these are things that have happened to encourage breeding.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And this is with animals too. Like, all different types of animals will have different markings and stuff
Yeah.
that the other sex of the animal finds more attractive.
Right.
Which obviously including humans, like, I mean, it doesn't, sexual orientation doesn't matter as much,
Right.
but just evolutionarily, we do develop traits like that. You know what I mean? So I think that the whole mixing of all the races, it just brings you all the different demographics of those things together. And maybe that's why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know if that's exactly it, but
Yeah.
that seems like a thought process that could be.
That would make sense.
Yeah. And maybe that's why we find it attractive, and because we haven't seen it as much. You know what I
This is
mean?
true.
Like the world hasn't seen the quarter Chinese, quarter German, quarter African, quarter
because-
Saudi Arabian kid. Like
Right.
that kid, there's not many of that kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
because
like you
we've
see them
only,
and they're
like-
beautiful because it's something different.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I
I mean
mean?
we've only been able to like travel, quickly between
For, like,
continents in
70
the last
years.
in the last 100 years, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so sorry. So back to you.
No, but so I think that maybe that's why that study feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you just like with plants, when you're mixing, like with the hybrid theory thing I was talking about, when you're mixing different plants, it'll take on the stronger genes
Right.
of the other plants.
Yes.
Usually, except
Yes.
for the hybrids, or not the hybrids, but the one out of 4.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. That's science shit. I fuck stuff. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know what. I read a lot and I watch a lot of lectures, but that's all I fucking know on the subject. But with me, oh yeah, back to me being what it was like being a kid that was mixed, right? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, it was interesting because I never really had much time to like. I never had other mixed kids to really relate to, I guess, on that level. But also, I didn't really know, growing up in the house I grew up in, I had no idea that there was any issue with what I saw at home.
Right.
I didn't know that society had put a stigma on an interracial marriage, because that's such a fucking ridiculous term.
Yeah.
But I hate that shit. But it's, yeah, I never knew that because I always knew this large black fella was my dad, and this little brown-haired white lady is my mom, and that's I didn't see them as black or white. You know what I
Right.
mean? I just saw them as my parents.
Right.
And I would see other parents that were both looked similar. They both had the same skin color, like either whatever it is, and I didn't think of it as me being weird or something being wrong. It was just something that I observed. And then it was not until I started going to school and stuff that I noticed there was an issue. Like, some kids weren't allowed to come over to my house because my dad was black. And,
Wow.
like, it was really strange occurrences like that. One of the weirdest ones was my parents and I were at the Ohio State Fair when I was, like, yeah, 6, 7. I don't know. I was around that age, and my mom had gone off to the restroom, so I was just standing there with my dad. And you saw the picture of me when I was a kid. I was like a little blonde-haired, little skinny, little white kid.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there, and I'm holding this like 6'1", 6'2", 320-pound black guy's hand. And I'm just like standing there, and these cops come up, and they like separated us. They got in between us, and they're like, "Excuse me, son. Like, do you know who this man is that's touching you?" And I was like, "What?" Like, and I was like, just didn't know. I was like, "Yeah, it's my dad." And my dad is like fuming. My dad's like furious, and like I get all like emotional when I talk about this kind of stuff. But so my dad's fucking furious, and I'm freaking out because I'm a child and I don't know why this person's trying to separate me from my dad.
Yeah.
And then finally my mom comes back out, and she's freaking out on the cops too. She's like, "Oh my God, like what's happening? What's happened? Blah blah blah." And they're like, "Well, we were just trying to see what this man was doing with this young with this young child here." And she's like, "That's my husband and my son. Like, what are you talking about?" And they're like, "Well, it's just they didn't look like they didn't look like I was his dad. Is he adopted or is he?" And they kept going on this thing, and I'm just like freaking out as a little kid at the fair right now, and so that was a rough one.
That's a really horrible experience because they're also like cops are like authority figures,
exactly,
Then they're supposed to always be right and enforcing the law. So like
they teach us they're the good guys,
right? And so for
just
them to like create this big kind of question mark in your between your parents, that's terrible.
That was fucking rough, man. I don't know. That was a scary moment. But and also I didn't understand the gravity of that until I was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like once I was an adult and I revisited that memory, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like that is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, and it's even more fucked up that these cops thought they were doing the right thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the psychology of that.
Yeah.
It's like we're about to save this little white kid from this scary black guy.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, it's my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, even if you were adopted, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because he's a large black man, that child can't possibly be with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about interracial porn then?
I think the term interracial is horribly offensive, and until we meet aliens, there's no such thing as interracial porn.
Right.
I don't think
because the human race is actually literally just one race.
Yeah, we are one thing. We just kind of look a little different.
Yes.
And that's evolution. That's fine. Mm-hmm. That's us adapting to the environments that we're in.
Right.
That has nothing to do with a race.
Right.
Now, I mean, I think I do find, like, I find issue like with the word race anyway, but I just to not like argue that point so much of the term race. I do think the term interracial is fucked up because I do think there's racial things like, there's, how do I explain this? There's things that are like black culture things, right?
Right.
I think race is more ridiculous than culture.
Okay.
Culture is one thing, right? But race, it would be different if like white people had wings. You know what I mean? Then it would be like, oh well, yeah, that's a little different. You know what I mean? But that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Would I have one wing, or just small wing? I don't know. But so anyway, I think that culture is one thing, and that comes from the region that your family evolved and lived in for however 10,000 years. Like that's what that comes from. Right. And there are cultural norms and cultural like identity and all that kind of stuff that makes sense, but to imply that we're a different race, like a species fucking another species, that's crazy.
Right. What do you think the draw is of interracial porn?
I think they are playing off of, it used to be viewed as taboo, right?
Right.
It was like
that's why
60 years ago.
That's why
black people weren't allowed to go to the same schools.
Well,
as
and
white
that's why
people.
Larry Flint was shot. A lot of people don't know this, but Larry Flint was shot. You know, obviously he's in a wheelchair, but he was shot because he published an interracial boy-girl spread in Hustler magazine.
Jesus.
That's why he was shot.
I did not know that. Yeah.
A lot of people,
seems like something I should know.
For some reason, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. So I think that it is marketed towards that. It's marketed towards.
It's marketed towards the taboo. It's not marketed towards people who are like accepting that we're all one race and that we're all one.
Then.
Yeah.
It wouldn't need to be called that. It would just be porn.
Yeah. And
you
it's almost always.
I do get upset because this is like I said, this is the house I grew up in.
Yeah.
Was this, and now. And now it's like, you know, I've learned throughout like all like learning in school and what my parents taught me and stuff about what like the civil rights movement was and what it meant and how important it was. And I know that about me, that if I was born, I could have gone to prison 100 years ago because I look white. And if I passed myself off as white and then somebody found out my dad was black, I could be fucked for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like passing was a thing that there wasn't, yeah, you could get in trouble for that shit back then. And so it's, yeah, that, and you'll notice like a lot of the times that this stuff is marketed, it's not a white guy and a black girl like embracing lovingly and like, oh, this is great. Or a black guy and a white girl embracing lovingly and like, oh, we're going to fuck and this is going to be awesome. And like, it's this like thing. It's always portrayed in a way that makes it look taboo or something.
Yeah, like the black
like
guy
half
is
of the-
destroy, like it's like huge black dick
Destroys,
tight
yeah,
white
like,
pussy.
yeah, it's
Like,
always that
that's-
kind of shit.
Yeah.
And you know, I got into a thing with somebody on another discussion I was having where they were like, I like how Xander like pushes off like step family porn, like it's not a big deal, but then has a big problem with interracial porn, like that title being interracial. And I was like, yeah, well, listen, interracial is something that reinforces like a 500-year longer stigma of a race being less than another or perceived in a certain way, or this is how this
Or
person
just
is, or
that
this
they
is how
shouldn't mix.
and yeah, it's this whole thing that is, it's so disgusting to me that this awful ideal is still perpetuated in our society now. Yeah, and just to sell shit, you know what I mean? Like where porn has such a fucking reach that I do think that removing that title from it and just making it sex between humans, you know what I mean? Like don't title it that because that's just weird. Actually, fuck that. Sex between humans. I'm making that movie.
You should
I'm making
do that.
Sex Between Humans.
You should
I'm gonna
do
make that.
an interracial movie that's just called
Sex Between Humans. I like it. I'm doing it. You'll probably beat me to it. You can-
Yeah, it's fine. Can
I have that one?
You can have that one, but I'm
Awesome.
directing it.
I love it. Oh yeah, there we go. And you can direct me in something because I'll be in it.
Woo! Talk to Brazzers.
I will. But no, I think but that's the thing too. To be fair, like I understand that it's certain people's bread and butter, right? But I also think that unless people stand up and say that we are the same race and that taboo of that stigma needs to be gotten rid of, then it's just going to keep happening.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Because there's nothing wrong at all. I think it's beautiful. Like that's how it was fucking made.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. It shouldn't even be something that you go like, oh, interracial. It's a black guy and a white girl. Like, no, they're just fucking. They're just people with a penis and a vagina, and they're putting them in each other. Like they're just doing that. That's not. It's offensive to me to do that, and they always market this shit with like the girl like, oh no, or like I'm ashamed, like they always like do that
like
kind of
girls
thing.
never had a BBC before.
Yeah,
first
and like,
time.
yeah, and like oh, this is the thing. Like what?
Yeah.
Like what? Stop fetishizing a human being in that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, and there's some of these sites that were. He had one of my buddies on here who's gone through this before, but one of my friends was legitimately told he can't shoot for a site because he's not black enough.
Yes.
And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that. So clearly it's not a matter of a black person and a white person, right? Or a black person and any other type. Because that's, to be honest, that's what interracial is.
Yeah.
It means black.
Yeah.
That's all it is, which is
Yeah.
fucking ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
So,
Because it doesn't mean
because
like
it puts it on the
Latin
fucking nose.
and-
Yeah, no, it doesn't mean anything.
and it
Asian and
also-
Latin, nothing.
and
It
it
just
also-
means black person.
And it also
you're-
like never goes the opposite way where like the
No.
girl's black and the guy's
No,
white.
it
That's
doesn't.
not labeled interracial.
Yeah, and so it's fucking ridiculous, man. And so, shit, where was I going? I forgot.
You were talking about your friend who came on here to
Right.
talk about.
Yeah, and to have that as a knowledge that so it's clearly not a matter of a black person and a white person, right?
Yeah.
It's you're saying you want this specific looking person, right? You
Right.
want this specific thing.
Right.
You want this image to be portrayed, this
Right.
one image, not the fact that there are lighter skinned black people and there are all different types of things. You're trying to portray one certain image to sell this thing.
Right.
So it isn't about anything but that one image.
Absolutely.
And that is where it hits it on the nose, and it's undeniable what they're trying to like portray.
Yeah.
Because you won't just take any black person. You have to take a black person that fits your little demographic of what you think is going to sell.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So on to why I think capitalism is the fucking devil, right? Which I do. But,
It's so interesting. I had Nicole Aniston on a couple of episodes ago, and we went into that. You've
Yeah.
worked with her, right?
yeah, I know it. Yeah, I know Nicole. Yeah.
I could imagine like just the two of you, just like having the two of you on this show. I'd be
Yeah.
like, all right, you guys go. I'm out of here. You just
No, but-
2 hours.
Yeah, that is the thing that really upsets me, though, is that interracial is not implying Asian and white or Latino and Middle Eastern. It's not implying any of that. Interracial just means black person, and that is fucking awful. Because now you are basically saying that every other demographic of people, every other culture in the world is the same except for fucking black people. That is fucking horrible.
Well, and the thing is that interracial is really only big in America, and like interracial doesn't exist
Nobody
in
gives
Europe.
a shit anywhere else in the world.
Europe,
so you
there's
just
no
do it
such
in
thing
the
as, like-
most racist country.
Yeah.
Like this is
Well,
where you're gonna
that's-
sell the racist shit.
That's because
Capitalism
we're
is the
so
fucking
hung up
devil.
on our racist past
Yeah.
here, and there's
fucking
and also
crazy.
too interracial porn is consumed more in red states where there's like
You don't
the
say.
South, and so it's a really
don't
interesting
say.
dynamic. Yeah, where basically where it would be the most taboo is where it's the most
Yeah.
popular, and I guess that's
So the people who use cuck as an offensive term are the people who watch porn that makes them feel cucked.
yeah, I guess so.
Wow, what's the psychology there? I just don't understand.
People are always into
Fucking idiots.
porn that I think resonates with something that's taboo in their life.
I mean, I
in
like
their world.
cartoons, so maybe that's why I only
Okay,
watch
so
cartoons.
actually, this brings up an interesting question. If you were to watch porn for enjoyment, what kind of porn do you watch?
Cartoons. Yeah, 100%. All hentai all the time.
Okay, can I kind of say that maybe me a little bit too, because I'm so fucking jaded that like regular porn is
Yeah.
work for me. And also, too, my biggest problem is I know everybody in all
That's
this
my big
scenes.
issue, too.
I can't masturbate to people that I know on a personal level, especially when I started this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Like, once I know how you feel about God and the universe, there's no way. I can't masturbate to you anymore. You ruined it.
What if I was just a nice little praying boy? And then would
No,
you be like,
like-
Fuck yeah. And then you'd be like, yeah, on your knees, boy. That's fucking. Yeah, my cup's gonna runneth over. I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay. No, that's my other thing too. I can't watch mainstream porn because I'm just like I critique.
Yes,
I've
that
become
too.
that
And-
asshole.
or like
I'm
know
like,
the
honestly,
location,
I
you
say
know
this-
who shot it.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, I did a scene on that couch. Like it's just
And
ruins it.
most of the time for me is like I'm if I'm watching porn, like I'm a jiggle person. I like jiggle. I
Okay.
like butt jiggle and boob jiggle. Like I love that's what I'm like.
Right.
That's that's my like thing. And so many fucking times when I'm trying to watch like human porn, I'm just like I'm sitting there like move your fucking arm, dude. Like why you're blocking a whole titty? I can't do this, and I have to change it because like his fucking arms just in front and the titty's like back here, and I'm like I want to see it. I
Yeah.
want to see the whole like lines. I want to see
Yes.
it. So I just critique, and then I'm like, and anime hentai porn, it's
And it's a world
You
in
don't
which
need
you
to
can
open.
literally create anything you want.
yeah. You know how many tentacles can fit inside of a hentai girl?
A-
As many as you can
as
draw.
many as
You can draw
want.
as many as you want,
This
and they
is
will
true.
all fit. And she's gonna love it. It's gonna be great. It's like, there's a whole thing on Reddit, and it's cool because a lot of the tentacle whatever is
Yeah.
all very aggressive.
Yes.
And there's a whole thing on there called consenticles. And it's all like willing girls who like really want to get fucked by the tentacles, and it's all
Oh my god, that's
so
hilarious.
it's all like girls like super into it, like yay tentacles. And it's really cool. I love it. It's
I
really,
gotta watch
I
that.
think it's a great thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, consenticles is awesome. But
Okay.
yeah, I love the 3D stuff now that
Yeah.
they have. That's so fucking cool, man.
It's crazy
that
what
shit.
you can do now. With I
Yeah.
mean, I almost like hopefully like regular porn doesn't become obsolete, because then you and I are out
I
of
don't
a
think that's, I
job.
don't think that's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, I guess that's
No.
true.
There's just new. There's gonna be like it was the same thing. Like I remember back in the day when, you know, when I was working for Penthouse Only, it was. You know, they had, we have the 3D cameras, and this is where porn's
Oh
going.
my God, they
this is where
sank
porn going,
so
and then
much money
nothing.
and
yeah,
Penthouse went
Nobody
after
gave
the
a shit.
3D market more than anybody, and
and nobody
pretty sure they
cares about
regretted
3D.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get to try.
I had fun.
You
I
know?
had fun when they had the big monitors, and
Yeah.
I'd put the glasses on and just swing my dick in front of the camera, like, whoa, shit, oh man, that was fun. But that was about it.
Okay, so the last question I want to ask you about.
Can I tinkle real quick,
Yes.
and then we ask the last question?
Yes, I kind of need to pee too.
Nice. I mean, that's why I did, because I sensed that you needed to, so I
Okay.
wanted to cut.
Okay.
Not because I'm doing like the dance or anything. That's stupid. I was being considerate.
Okay, we're gonna pause. All right.
All right.
Let's go to the bathroom.
Yay! Cross the streams. Oof.
We could actually cut that part out in the audio. I
Which
think,
part?
about us going to the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah. I made a.
I don't care.
I know, but it's like.
Oh, Well, and the thing is, it's art, so you can't censor art. Even if you don't like it, don't take part in it. Like, you know, there's plenty of comedians I don't like, but I'm not gonna go out there and be like, Dennis Miller shouldn't be doing comedy. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't agree with him, but I'm not gonna say he shouldn't be doing things. You know what I mean?
Okay, the most recent one.
Yeah.
See, I kind of hated it, and I was really disappointed because I love Bill Burr.
Yeah. Why did you hate it?
I just thought it was.
Aggressive?
It just. I don't know. It's weird because, like, I'm very much not somebody who's easily offended at all. I'm not that way, but I I don't know. Some
But
of
did
the
you see
stuff-
how he roped it around though?
Actually, I didn't watch all of it.
Oh well, that's
So is
yeah.
that why?
No, you have to
Okay.
watch the whole thing.
Because I watched half of it and I
'Cause-
was like, this is kind of nonsense.
No.
You know what I felt weird about is that having like all that stuff coming from a white man. It was just like really weird when he was talking about very and I was like, then after a while when you brought it up back together, I'm like,
Yeah, when
Yeah,
he said, well,
'cause
when
I
he said the
was-
thing about when he was talking about his wife and stuff
Yeah.
at the end, and you're like, oh shit, I knew he was married to a black because
I knew he was
watched
married
his,
to a black woman too.
But he's talking about that, and he talks about how he, as a white guy, doesn't see these things.
Yeah.
He doesn't see the racism,
Yeah.
so because it's something that occurs to him,
Yeah.
and how he's glad that
Okay,
his
so I
wife is
gotta
there.
watch the rest of it.
I would watch
'Cause,
the
yeah,
whole
there
thing.
was a lot of like things that he said about women that I was kind of like.
yeah, he was going for it.
And
Yeah.
again, like
But-
I am not like I totally believe the Me Too movement has gone too far.
Sure,
I
sure,
absolutely believe that you should not believe all women. Like I don't believe that at all.
Did you get to the part where he talks about that?
I got to the first part where
Where he talks about the
like,
ones you shouldn't believe, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe don't believe
He
all of
went
those.
in,
Yeah.
He went in.
Dude, he
And it
really
was- and it
did,
was
yeah.
so-
But there was I don't know, there was
I
just
thought
a
it was
lot
too
of it that I was
aggressive.
just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I was
It
like,
was
But
super
see,
aggressive.
I can disagree with something,
yeah.
and I still see yes, this is art here.
No, I still love
Like,
Bill
I get
Burr.
it, yeah.
I just didn't. I was just. Anyway, I was just watching it and I was just like, I'm like not into this,
Right.
and
It's
I'm
a little bit
disappointed,
aggressive, yeah, kinda
and I
felt that.
don't think this is that funny,
Yeah,
and bummer. I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch something else. I'm gonna watch Succession, which I'm obsessed with.
I would. Have you watched Carnival Row yet?
No, is
Oh.
it good? It
Oh my
looks
God.
like my
And I love-
my style.
I love all the parallels with immigrants and racism and stuff. It's
Oh,
really
cool.
beautiful.
Okay.
It's really
All right.
really cool.
Awesome. Because we need a new
Yeah.
show. Because I just finished the first season of Succession, and I'm like obsessed
I
with
haven't
it.
seen that.
It's
The
so
Expanse is
good.
on
And
it.
I think also too for me it resonates with me having like, grown up under my mother's shadow. So I'm just like I get I
Okay.
kind of get some parts of
You
it. But
relate
it's
a lot to it.
yeah. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
really well done. It's incredibly well written and it's incredibly well acted and there's a lot of like nuances in it that are very it's just really
Are they
fucking well done.
generally miserable?
Oh, super
I love
miserable.
it. It's-
Yeah, there's
What-
not
what
there's
is
not
it?
one person in that show that you like. So it's basically based on Rupert Murdoch, I believe. So it's about this
Oh right.
super wealthy
Yeah, fuck, I don't
media
even know if I can
mogul
watch
and
that.
his kids
I think I would just get too angry.
who
Yeah.
you got to see it cuz it's but it's so fucking
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah, I think I would get angry.
It's so well done.
I hate him, but I love him.
He's the best character.
Yeah.
He's the funniest.
He's so good.
Oh,
He plays that brat so well.
yeah.
That's HBO, right?
yeah.
Did you guys watch Chernobyl?
Yes.
Holy
That
fuck.
was really good.
Oh.
At first, I was really annoyed about the accent thing, and then I got after that. I got over it after
Yeah.
a while.
Well, I wonder if just like there was. I was wondering why there wasn't a lot of Russian actors in it, and I think
They apparently the people like the showrunners did a whole thing about it. and
Yeah.
yeah. Essentially, it was like they really wanted there aren't a lot of I guess there aren't a lot of really great Russian actors. Not that there aren't a lot of actors that in
Yeah.
Russia that could be great, but Russia in general doesn't let people leave the
that's
country.
the thing. Yeah, they're not.
You know
even
what
like,
I mean?
let's
They don't
loan
like
out.
to share them
Let's
with
loan
other
out
people.
our best actors in a show that
So-
really talks some shit about
Yeah,
us.
so I
This
think
is-
it was
this
like
seems right up Putin's alley. I
more
think
like
he'd really be into
access,
that. He'd get a
yeah.
real gas out of that.
Yeah. So
Uh,
okay.
That
Yeah.
question was
All right. Yes. Last question. Okay.
okay.
Okay. So I have one final question for you. I feel like we've really run the gamut. We've explored every single topic.
Yes.
So it was Suicide Awareness Day.
Yes.
A couple weeks ago. And I saw you post on Twitter about how you had a really bad relapse
Yes.
and Seth Gamble rescued you from a hotel room.
He did.
Can you tell us about that? Because I know you've struggled with drinking
Yeah.
over a long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I was doing pretty good for a while, and I had a big situation change, and I basically just had to start over my life again. I've started over so many times in the past, and I was just turning 30. On November 17th, I was booked to be one of the hosts on the AVN Nominations Award party, right? Like the big party
Right.
at the Avalon. And so I'd thought a lot about different things, and I'd really dove back into drinking, and I was just living in a hotel room, and I was like, basically my plan was to spend all the money that I had saved for, rainy day stuff on just living in a hotel, drinking as much as I can, partying as much as I can until the night of November 17th, where I would go out and host this show, make everybody laugh, entertain everybody, and then kill myself that night so that on my 30th birthday, that would be my poetic exit from the world.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a fucking drama queen. So that was my plan. That was my poetic ending.
How long did you think about this plan?
I've been thinking about it for, God, when was that? Like 2 weeks or something.
Okay.
When it first came into my mind. Because it had weighed so heavily on me that I had literally had to start over, and I was already struggling with some things before that, and just the idea of like, dude, you're fucking 30, now you have to start over again. Hopefully, not like living on your friend's couch and blah 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 and all this kind of stuff. And like, I was like, no, I want to go out in complete control. Like, this is my shit.
Right.
I didn't realize I wasn't in control. Obviously, that's pretty clear. But man, it's weird to talk about. Yeah, so my major issue with when I get horribly depressed is I isolate.
That's very normal.
Yeah, and
Quite typical.
Completely, yeah, I shut out everyone, and I don't want anyone to know that there's something wrong. Right. So I'm extra, I'm extra like fucking jokes and like making everybody laugh.
Yeah.
Until I get alone, and then it's just like silence and drinking.
Yeah.
So at the AVN party, actually, it was weird because there was a moment where like everybody was like, "Oh my God, you were so funny! That was awesome!" Blah blah, and like everybody loved it. Like people were they were saying all that kind of stuff when they would see me privately that night, like when we were at the party. Seth and his girlfriend Kenzie were the only ones. Like, Seth came up to me, I saw them, and I was like, "Hey, blah, 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 what's going on, guys? How you doing?" Blah, and Seth's like, "You're fucked." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, You're going through it right now, aren't you?" And I was like, I mean, yeah.
Wow.
He was the only one that like could see that there was really something wrong,
Yeah.
So,
Well, having gone through it himself.
yeah. No,
I mean,
yeah.
you see yourself
Plus,
in other people.
He's known me for 10 fucking years.
Yeah.
So he could see that I was coming undone there,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I tried to do it that night, but luckily Honeygold stopped me from doing that. With like talking to me all night, and then when she left, I tried again. So I ordered like 3 bottles of Jameson at a time.
Yeah.
And I had like my sleeping pill stuff there, and I was taking things and trying to just drink them down and putting down like at least 2 or 3 bottles of that in like a couple of hours. And I just, every time I would wake up again. And on that 3rd day of me just trying and trying to play it cool too with people, like, I'm just partying, man. I'm just doing this, just getting shit out of my head.
Yeah.
Finally, I guess Sandra had found out where I was. My agent found out where I was. Sent Seth over, and it was so weird because when I was laying in the bed and I was still hitting that bottle, like, because that was my plan. I wanted to just drink so much and take these sleeping pills until I just fell asleep, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought about doing some other things since I was running out of options at that point. And I was like, I'm ruining the thing. It was supposed to be on my birthday, and now it's 2 days after my birthday. Like, the whole fucking thing is gone.
Talk about control.
Yeah, no, it was really stupid. And, like, I was going to try to hang myself from the thing, and it was stupid. But the door situation. And then, God damn. Yeah, and so I was laying in that bed, and I heard a knock on the door. And I don't know why. I don't know what rang in my mind, but I was like, that's fucking Seth. I was like, please don't be fucking Seth. Like, anyone but Seth. Like, don't be fucking Seth.
Yeah.
I get to the door, and I look through the thing, it's fucking Seth. And I was like, oh, fuck. Ugh, this is that moment that I'm going to have to face all this shit now.
Yeah.
I didn't get away with it. I didn't, like, get able to just end it, never. And so he came in the room, and we had, like, a little mini meeting,
Yeah.
like a mini AA thing.
Yeah.
And, like, he told me his story more. I talked about what was going on with me, and then he he fucking asshole. He took a picture of me like sitting there like looking like shit, like whatever. And he's like, I'm gonna show this to you in a year, and you're gonna see like how much better you are once you've gotten your shit together.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that'll be a year and a couple months. So
I bet he's got that picture.
yeah, he does. Oh yeah, he does.
I bet he's waiting.
Yeah, he is. And so he, you know, I spent a couple months in AA, like meeting people and like getting a lot of the support I needed. And
Right.
then I didn't. AA wasn't for me. Like
Right.
I was one of those guys who needed AA at that point in time. And then after I had stabilized myself and like gotten to where I feel good again, then I was able to like move away from it and not like go. But I still like love the people in AA and the people I met are really awesome. I still hang out with some of them.
I think there's a lot you can take away from the program that are just tools for living,
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily have to make it a part of your life.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's
And I
not
think-
for everybody, but I think there's a lot of things in there that it can teach people.
Yeah.
But you know, whether or not you need to be actively involved in it forever it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing about it is like you can do whatever you want. Like it's
Yeah.
it's your life, you know, it's your journey.
Yeah, and I think that I think it's beautiful, and I think it's a wonderful thing for someone to have. It wasn't the right thing for me.
Yeah.
And like even now, like I'll like I was telling you earlier, like I'll have a drink every now and then, but I literally do not like the feeling of alcohol anymore. So I can like have a drink and be like, all right, cool, like whatever, that's fine. But then a second drink is like, no, because as soon as I feel that feeling of like, ugh, like I feel that like, the drunkenness feeling, like the buzz feeling coming on, used to be this thing that was like, fuck yeah, here we go, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is the shit.
Yeah.
Like, let's fucking get wasted, let's do this, and it incited more party.
Right.
Now it's like, ew,
Yeah.
like I don't like it.
Do you think it's kind of almost like a warning sign of that night?
I'm sure that could be tied to that somehow. Yeah.
You know how some people, you know that age-old thing, like you catch your kids smoking cigarettes and you just make them smoke a whole pack of cigarettes because they hate it so much they never want to touch it again?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe it's something?
That was my smoke the whole pack.
Yeah,
night.
smoke a whole pack thing. Like you
Yeah.
kind of like, and now you associate being drunk with such a bad experience that like your body almost kind of like physically rejects it.
I think I think it's more than that one experience. I think it's 9 years of my life, longer than that, honestly. Just being drunk as fuck all the time, not caring about any of my responsibilities,
Right.
covering it with that whole like punk rock, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna die soon anyway type thing, you know,
Right.
like that. But that was the skewed perspective I was seeing from, and yeah, it because I was running away from dealing with a lot of the psychological damage and
Right. And alcohol is a
abuse.
great coping
and,
mechanism.
it's fucking awesome. You forget
it-
all the stuff, and you like,
gets you out of your head.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
it relaxes inhibitions, all that.
Yeah.
And I was using that as a mechanism to, like, as a coping mechanism, but really not even a coping mechanism, just a way to forget.
Yeah.
You know, to just black all those things out
Yeah.
and never deal with like the deep seated fucking problems that I do have, and so many of my problems, yes, they come from my childhood, like the certain abuse things that happened and like all this other really shitty stuff that happened when I was a kid, and just the emotional shit with my parents. But I know this now, and it's not the thing like. It's not a thing where I'm like, well, I'm an asshole because my parents were assholes, and that's how it is. Like, I'm like, oh, I know why I feel like shit about stuff. But it's not an excuse for me to be shitty also.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these are feelings that now I can isolate and learn from.
Right.
And I can be like, oh, so when somebody, like for instance, my dad's side of the family has a big issue, and my mom's side of the family, like my whole family has an issue, like where it's like, if I didn't talk to you for like 2 months or something, and I finally call you or something, you're like, oh well, like I'm beginning to forget what you looked like. Well, like, and they hit you with that kind of shit. And I'm like, oh, dude, I don't want to fucking call you anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk to you now. And also, phones work both ways, motherfucker. Like, it's when people try to hit you with with guilt, Like guilting is really something I don't react well to,
Yeah.
because my initial response is to cower.
Yeah.
Because that's what back to being a kid. Because my parents were very emotionally manipulative people.
Right.
And so, sorry, mom and dad.
That's okay.
You know it. So my initial response is to cower and try to fix it. You know, I immediately go to subservient mode, and I want to be like, what can I
Yeah.
do? Like, how can I help the? Like,
I'm
how can I
totally-
make me okay again?
I'm totally the same way.
And I can see that now. And instead of just reacting that way, like I think that your natural responses to things aren't like, not natural, but you know what I mean. Your program responses aren't something that you should be like, oh no, like don't recognize that that's a thing. Like no, recognize it 100% and learn how to counter it.
Yeah.
So that when that feeling comes on, of me being like, I'm ashamed that you're sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's so like you just say it out loud. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But when that comes on to me, it's like it's my responsibility to ensure that you're happy.
Yes.
Right? Which is it's a massive problem to have.
Right.
But I can see that and then redirect that in my mind to be like, no, like you're not the problem here. Like if you just because you can't make somebody laugh and you can't be the reason for their happiness all the time, just go play video games, dude. Like go do your thing. Let them figure it out and just tell them you'll be there when they want to talk about it.
Right.
And that's fine. Like take all the time you need. I'm gonna go do my stuff until you're ready to talk about it.
Trying to accept responsibility for other people's feelings and their actions is like one of the most painful things because you can't change other people and you can't change how they feel and you can't change how they act. I mean, obviously on certain levels you can, but like intrinsically, if somebody's got like a serious issue with whatever, like you can't change that person. The only thing that you can do is allow space for them to hopefully recognize it and fix it themselves. But we're all responsible for our own problems. And the first thing that you need to do is recognize your problems because so many of us are always in victim mode, right? And it's always about like, they did this to me, they did this to me. And instead of like recognizing your part in something. And that's actually one of the huge lessons that I learned from the 12-step program is recognizing your own part in something and not carrying whatever, you know, issues you developed in childhood, which we all have them. And, you know, it's my responsibility to try to not carry those into adulthood and to recognize them and to try to work on them and try to be a better person. And we'll never be perfect, ever.
Yeah, that's not a realistic goal.
No, but we can try.
But with those kind of things too, it's like people use that as an excuse.
Right.
They use that to validate their behavior and every other thing that they do in their lives. So they're like, well, I'm an alcoholic because of this, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I'm drinking all the time. Like, so you haven't even tried to solve the problem. You just countered one problem with another problem. And that's ridiculous.
Right.
And that's what people do because it's the easier way to deal with it.
It takes so
Instead
much.
of going, and you run from your demons and just run. But demons can outrun you. They can run forever. You can't. You know? So it's like, that's one of those things where it's better to turn around and face them and then make them feel small because they belong to you. You don't belong to them. Like, those are your demons. You don't belong to the demons. So,
but
that's why I don't use all those things as an excuse for like, I'm like, oh, I know why I'm a certain way. I know why I'm a certain way, but I know how to deal with myself so I don't repeat the same mistakes. And I wish I would have had that knowledge throughout all my like relationships and stuff like that. Like, but I needed.
You couldn't have though, because you needed those experiences
100%,
to get to where you are.
And that's the thing too, is like I've never been one of those people who's just like, you know, after any type of relationship, like, oh, they were just like that, they're just crazy and they're the problem. I was like, no, I'm a fucking lunatic too. I'm fucking crazy, and I recognize that. I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I have a lot of issues with self-worth and depression and all that kind of. I know I have those things, and when you take two people in a thing and they both have those kind of issues, because misery that I've been attracted to, like I basically I get with people who are like me, and a lot of times
because that's familiar
with friendships
and
too, with
comforting.
friendships too, and not just saying in romantic relationships, is I get with people who are emotionally broken in similar ways than I am, you know, or have cracks in the similar way that I do, and I try to fix them. Right.
Because then you don't have to worry about yours.
Yeah, fucking A, bro. Like, I try to like, but I don't, it's not an escapism thing. It's just what feels right. You know what I mean? And it makes me feel good that I helped. But then I'm like, no, all you're doing is putting Band-Aids on fucking gaping wounds. Like you're
Yeah.
not helping. Like you're just distracting.
Right.
You'd rather dance around and make somebody smile, and that's not going to put the fire out that
Right.
they're on. You know, you're like, but
Yeah.
if you're laughing, it's okay. Like, you know, it's not okay. You're
Yeah.
on. It's yeah, I don't know. It's
So
I'm glad I'm learning about myself so much that I can.
So how has this past year been for you? Have you been like doing a lot of therapy that's helped you
Yeah.
recognize this and reach this?
Yeah, I have a therapist through Kaiser, and that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I feel about insurance companies, but
Back to capitalism.
pay a lot of fucking money for this shit. Take it on my taxes. But the therapy's awesome. I've actually gotten into it. That's so like, I've gotten into like my little group of friends is a bunch of very like little hippie witchy people, and we all are really into talking about how things make us feel.
Yeah.
So we have our own little like therapy group almost. It's really
That's
cool. I've
great.
never had a support group like this.
That's great.
You know what I mean? And not to say anything like I've like I said earlier, Honey and Seth and Sandra absolutely saved my life. And I wouldn't be, and I'm not saying anything's like, that's a separate kind of support system right to that. Like, cause obviously Seth is like my fucking, right. Like we don't hang out all the time. We're not constantly like arm in arm
Yeah.
dudes, but he was the first friend I made in porn. So he's
Yeah.
obviously going to be one of my best friends now. And that motherfucker and I have seen some shit together.
Yeah.
Like party day stuff, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like we should not be alive. The way we used to party together was horrifying.
Yeah.
It was so bad. But you know, I would always be there for him if he really needed. And you know, Sandy, obviously my agent, is like a fucking mother to you know, so it's like that's, you know, I've got that support.
Isn't it amazing how and I probably excluding I don't know Sandra's past and her whatever she's been through, but isn't it amazing how people like Honey, you know, who has dealt with depression and
Yeah.
suicide attempts herself, and Seth, who's dealt with depression and like serious addiction problems,
Yeah.
how those are the like all these people who were in, you know, the deepest, darkest recesses of their mind, those are the kinds of people that rise up to help you because they understand you. And it's like crazy how all of that energy can go into create all that energy that was once used to create such a negative environment and make people do such horrible negative things to themselves can come together to, you know, enact such a positive thing, which is basically to save your life.
Well, I think that is more. I think that energy, that force of will, it's the same energy, right? So people like that, and addicts and stuff, and like people who fall into these deep depressions and all that stuff, have an immense amount of energy, right?
Right.
In them, they have an immense amount of will and all this stuff in them. They just turn it in on themselves as
Yeah.
opposed to focusing it. Because you imagine with all that brain power that it takes for you to let your mind spiral out of control into these, and I do this every fucking day,
Yeah.
but to let your mind spiral out of control into these crazy conspiracy theories and these loneliness and how everything's going to end up horrible and just these absolute intricate doom scenarios
Yeah.
that I wake up every morning and just, that's the first thing I think about. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I have to change myself out of it.
Yeah.
Like that amount of creativity is like Steven Spielberg level creativity right
Yeah.
there. And if imagine like it would
I mean,
be
so
so
many
incredible if
of
we
the greatest
focused
artists suffer
Yeah.
from serious depression and addiction
but
problems.
because they in those things they've learned to focus that
Right.
energy onto another story, onto something
Exactly.
different, onto creating something, and then
Yeah.
they create some fucking crazy masterpiece with all that energy that wasn't being concentrated on self-destruction and all this
Right.
other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much potential, and I think that's part of our existential crisis as humans at this moment in history, is that there's nothing for us as a group to be like, yes, we need to fight this, like,
Yeah.
you know, we need to, oh, this is our great war, this is our thing.
Yeah.
We're just fucking sitting here.
Yeah.
So all that energy just goes inside and
Yeah.
just creates this little
Well, because humans are
fusion bomb.
I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine who was like, you know, human beings,
Fission bomb, sorry.
we are by nature problem solvers, right? So
We
if
have to
we
be,
don't
yeah.
have like problems that are put in front of us to solve, like we're going to create problems within ourselves.
It's literally
like,
out
we're
of
literally
nothing.
going
Yeah.
out of nothing
Yeah.
because it's like our mind needs to constantly
Yeah.
be like working on something.
This is why I play video games. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Like, this is why. Because if I'm just sitting there in my house, I'd be like, oh, I could be like creating something. Like thinking of like, oh, I could create something or write something. I could write this new song or I could work on this, blah, blah. And then I'm like, well, why are you such a piece of shit? Why don't you do that? Oh, the reason you don't do that is because, and then it's just spiral down this
Yeah,
fucking thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, it just goes dark, dark, dark. And so, that's why I play video games. I hang out with my friends. I like always try to be interacting with people is because I can comfortably be alone now, now that I've worked on myself a lot more. But man, back in the day, if I was alone, I was drinking.
Yeah.
I was
I
drinking. And
know.
I wasn't just having a beer.
Yeah.
Like, beer was my water.
Yeah.
Like, that was how
Oh,
it
I
worked.
used beer to chase vodka.
Oh, me too.
I mean, come on.
Fuck yeah. That was our old, no,
Beer.
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
But back in the day, that was our thing. God damn, it's so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it got to the point where I just stopped like pouring vodka into glasses. I was like, well, then I got to wash
Yeah.
all of those glasses
What's
and just
the-
drink it straight out of the bottle.
What's
I mean,
this extra step?
yeah. I mean, come on.
What kind of
Who are we
fancy
kidding?
person am I pretending I am? Like, it's so, yeah.
And I just remember like I just remember like distinctly like some of those little like patches towards the end, just me like in my closet like drinking vodka, like crying, and I'm just like, this is not where I was meant to be.
Yeah. Or like another really sad thing that we've definitely both done 100% is when you get that last one and you do that like
Yeah.
the drip, trying to get that last drip of fucking
Yeah.
alcohol.
Or
out
have
of a
you ever
bottle.
like gotten
It's so pathetic.
Have you ever tried to drink yourself out of an incredibly bad hangover and then
Oh, yeah.
immediately thrown it up and then thought, oh my God, I just wasted all that alcohol
Yeah.
in the sink? Well, I haven't eaten anything in like, a couple days. Maybe I could just.
Just scoop it, just have it again, put it back.
I'm fucking telling you, man, that
Yeah.
occurred to me. I never did it, but definitely
the thought has
occurred to me.
occurred. Like the thought, like I've had those things where I've woken up so hungover that I'm like, is it worth just like laying here and peeing my pants? Then
oh,
going
I've
to the
done
bathroom?
that.
Or
I
like,
couldn't get out of
or
bed.
like, how important is going to get a glass of water?
Yeah.
Like, could I just lay here for another 2 hours, like awake but kind of dreaming, and in this like weird state of sweaty coldness?
Oh God, it's
It's
the
like-
worst. That sweaty coldness.
The most uncomfortable thing.
Uncomfortable.
Because you want to cover up in like an absorbent blanket
Yeah.
or something, because you're like, oh, this will be warm and like absorb it. So even if I do sweat, but then the sweat gets cold anyway, and you start shivering.
Yeah.
And then you take it off, and then you're really cold.
Yeah, yeah.
Through this whole situation, you've never stopped sweating. Like, it's
God, I
so
don't miss.
bad.
I don't miss those.
ugh, gross.
Oh my God! But you know
Gross,
what I
gross,
am
gross.
gonna miss?
Huh.
I'm gonna miss you because we have
Aw.
to end this podcast because it's literally
Same
2
way.
hours. It's like double the amount of time that my shows normally are.
Oh wow.
But it's been amazing.
I rant. Sorry.
No, honestly, I feel like this has been like one of my best episodes.
Really?
And, oh my God,
You
this
need-
has been
you-
incredible.
You need to raise your.
Well, I can't have you on
stance.
every single time.
No, I'm just by saying I'm great in an interview. you need to set
No,
your
this
sights
has
higher
been-
than little old
This
me.
has been really great. We've like, oh my God, we talked about like God, capitalism, alcoholism, porn, like what,
Yeah.
racism, like, dude, we covered all of it.
I think we hit some keynotes.
Yeah, it's been really amazing. Is there anything that you would like to tell your fans before we wrap up?
Just you can follow me on Twitter at xcorvus777. My Instagram is Zantastic Voyage. It's just fantastic with an X instead of an F. And also, if you want to follow on twitch.tv/xcorvus777, I'm playing video games and just hanging out and doing stuff on there. So I've also got a Discord channel that I sometimes bring up so that we can actually all talk while I'm like cooking or doing shit around the house.
You're going to have to explain Discord to me because I've heard that brought up so many times and I don't know what it is.
You have
Tell
to
me
be,
after
you have to
the
be
show.
invited to the thing or else.
What?
I'm just kidding. It's
Oh, I was
it's
like-
like an online like conference call-esque kind of thing where you
Okay.
can just talk to a bunch of people in like a chat room with your voice.
Oh.
It's pretty cool. It takes no time to make one. It takes 3 minutes.
Oh, that's like
Yeah.
super. Because I see like it as so many people offer it like as a part of their podcast. You join their Patreon and like Discord account. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And
then you
now I
follow
know. Oh, cool. Well,
I'm starting a podcast as well. So
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be terrible.
it's gonna suck.
You're
It's gonna be
really
horrible.
you have no substance. You have no stories.
I almost have
nothing
yeah.
to talk about. You have no opinions,
No,
which is terrible. I
I
mean,
am
you got to
just-
be passionate about something.
Yeah, I don't have any passion.
Do you have a name for it yet?
I think we're gonna call it the actual fuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's what she
Nice.
wants to call it. My friend Misty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
her
going to
and
be
I-
doing it with Misty.
Dawn.
Okay.
Yeah, she's super into the whole nerd culture thing. So am
Okay.
I. That's mostly what we're gonna be talking about is like sex and nerdy shit and like like obviously comic books, video games, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then just weird. I'm into politics like people are into sports, so I'm gonna get super political
Mm-hmm. Oh,
on
wow.
it. But
I was going to say, I fucking love your shirt. He's wearing a Bernie 2020 shirt.
but it's
And
in black metal
no, I want to know where you got that from
on
because
Etsy.
okay, because my boyfriend actually worked on Bernie's campaign. The
Really?
last time he ran.
That's awesome.
He's a huge Bernie fan.
Look at
and
the
he
back,
also
though.
likes metal, so.
Look at the back.
Oh my God. Fuck.
It's Bernie Sanders in
Oh my
quotes
God.
paint.
I could get it to him for Christmas.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's like $15.
I got
on
him a
Etsy.
Slayer Christmas sweater one year,
Oh,
and it
nice.
was like his favorite
Yeah.
Slayer ugly Christmas sweater. It
Yeah.
was the best gift I ever gave
That's
him.
awesome.
So I like the Bernie Slayer
Yeah.
shirt. It's fucking great.
Yeah, this has been really fun though. I'm really happy that we finally got to do it.
Yeah, me too. And
And I hope I
hopefully,
wasn't too
no, you were great.
crazy.
No, oh my God,
I can
I
just
loved
rant on
it.
shit,
I loved
so.
it. We could keep going, but
You
I
have a
think
life
Ernie.
to get to.
Well, I think Ernie wants to go home. I do have a ton of shit to do. Oh my God. So on that note, you guys can follow me at Holly Randall on Twitter and on Instagram. And obviously, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Holly Randall Unfiltered. I will actually be at AVN 2020. I will be at the Adult Time booth because I have a channel on there now. So
What is adult time?
Adult Time. What is Adult Time? Well, let me tell you.
I'll just head out. I'm sorry.
Adult Time is Gamma's new streaming platform. It's basically like
Oh,
they're trying
right.
to create the Netflix,
The Netflix
of porn.
for porn. Yeah. Fucking
Yeah.
A, man.
And
yeah.
actually, if you want a free week, people, you can use code Holly and you can get a free week.
That's super cool. Good for them.
Yeah. So I will be doing my podcast live from the booth. So
Fucking A,
come
all right.
by, say hello, but don't interrupt me if I'm doing an interview. And take a shower and please don't be creepy. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Love you. See you next week.